Oh, you hear the music. I don't hear the music.
I hear it.
It's a good song. It's a bop, but I want to sing along, but I know it'll be totally unallowed because I love you, baby.
Yeah.
Welcome, everybody, to the Sunday show. It is March 23rd, 2025, and we are here to take calls about God, religion, but honestly, it's Austin and I. We're a couple of ex-Mormon. Do you take on the leftist label as I do?
I do, but they don't always accept me. You know, I think that when I look at our ideology and our values and our political goals, they align and they're the same. Yeah. It's just sometimes we disagree on strategy, and because we disagree on strategy, they're like, "You're a neo shit lib," and I'm like, "Okay, well, yeah, all right." But you know,
there is no matter where you fall on the left, somebody will say you're not a true leftist. And it's fun. It's fun to see your own people taken over by the same fallacies that you see as the problem with people around you, like Christians, as though we've never heard the no true, and Scotsman,
no true Scotsman
being the traditional name. But at this point, I think it'd be more fun to honestly, no true Christian as a modern example. Back in the day, if you said no true Scotsman, when that name was invented, people knew what you were talking about. Nobody knows what the fuck that even means anymore. Now, no true Christian should honestly be the name of the fallacy. I saw that you're thinking about covering, or maybe you're talking about it on Thread. You're thinking about covering more fallacies and stuff.
I started it and then I just need to get back into it. But yeah, I've been thinking about this for years, honestly, because the amount of times that people in the comments will point at something that they think is a logical fallacy, and it's like they're in the ballpark sometimes. Like, people just think if there's any kind of personal attack attached to an argument, that means it's an ad hominem fallacy and your argument is therefore null and void and you've lost the argument. It's like, that's not what ad hominem means. An ad hominem is when you replace your argument with a character attack. So you don't have a substantive argument and you're using a character attack in place of a substantive argument. But I can still say the earth is an oblate spheroid, you dipshit, and be correct.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, that I like that one a lot too. And look, that's the one I definitely commit the most. Actually do commit the fallacy the most. Not because of an inability to actually argue, but at a certain point, especially in text forums, you realize, why am I fighting with this person? And then you're like, all right, I'm just going to call him an idiot and go. And fair enough, at that point, that's pretty much what I'm doing. Like, you're too stupid to argue with.
And sometimes, yeah, like if they want to go I win because you committed the ad hominem fallacy, it's like, but usually in those cases, it's like, no, I actually gave you several substantive arguments and you displayed that you weren't capable of synthesizing them. So now we're done. You know,
I like when people say I win because blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, I didn't know I was debating the referee. That's a little fucking, you should have told me ahead of time. People, listen, there's a lot of exciting stuff coming up this week, including tomorrow. But if this is your first time watching, this is the Sunday show. We take calls. If you believe in God, we would love to hear from you, and we would love to hear why you believe in God, or if you'd like to defend conservatism or any of the many things that if you want to defend a vote for Trump, honestly, we would take it here on this show. A whopping 2% of the current polled people have said that they are willing to call in and explain why they believe in God. But right now, we've only got one theist on the line waiting to. But otherwise, lots of cool stuff on this channel. Tomorrow is Skeptalk, a more science-based show that is going to feature Gutsick Gibbon and John Gleason, the godless engineer. Wednesday or Tuesday, I think it's the standard Tuesday. I forgot. Morgan, is it the standard show Tuesday? Hang on, never mind, I've got it in front of me. Yes, Alyssa and Eve will be on, and by the way, tomorrow also The Line is a Podcast. We'll have a new episode, which I will once again not be on this week's. I'll be back for Fridays, but it's going to be Alyssa, Eve, and Arden, and then Alyssa and Eve will be back for Chewed Gum on Tuesday. Wednesday, David Packman is joining Matt Dillahunty on the Hang Up. That'll be pretty cool. I actually have to do a bunch of prep for that because they wanted to do it in person. So I've got to go and set up a whole set for the two of them together. It's going to be an awesome week. And then Josie and Alexander will be holding down the Transatlantic Call-In show. Another like fun little announcement. There is a new logo for the channel. I'm actually sat in front of it, but I have a laser. So I went ahead and lasered it out. Well, what's funny is it's actually existed for a while. We just haven't launched it yet, but you can now get merch at lionmerch.com with the new logo. This is it.
What the fuck is that? What is that? What did you do?
Do you know what's funny is we went to the hold screen beforehand, and as it went there, I was like, fuck, I forgot when I'm not producing, I'm muted. Cause I was going to say to you like, oh dude, when I show it, act like you fucking hate it. You already got the, we already lined up. Yeah.
Jesus Christ, Jimmy. What the fuck is wrong with you? What are you doing?
I understand now, and actually I just finally saw it. Now I can't unsee it. I was about to make fun of the commenter who said the hairline looks like a turtle mouth, and I couldn't see it until this very moment, and now it does.
It does look like a turtle mouth.
I just want to say everybody loves this new logo. There totally has not been a takeover of people who mostly do not. You know what I love is that people don't know we can see comment histories on the channel, and so people the comment section under the post have been taken over more on one post than the other by people who really do not like. But I put on the community tab this logo, and there are people who really don't like it. And I've also been being a little bit of a stinker with my post. So first of all, I made coins. I make coins. It's a thing I do with the logo. You can't really see it very well, but they're cool. And just figured out what I think I want to do for the back of the coin. Somebody had actually suggested something that sounds like a really good idea. And anyway, I had originally posted a post with just the black and white logo. And then decided after an hour or two that I wanted to instead do a poll where people would choose between different color schemes. And in the end, they chose the black and white. But the new logo, the first post just said, new logo, more details to come. Then the second one, because I saw the comments as I decided to switch it out for the thing, and there are just some people who are so mad about it. The old logo is, okay, you can actually see the logo in the banner. It's right by the line. It's just the most generic, except for it was yellow, the one for the channel. The most generic phone clip art that has 3 little sound waves coming off. That was so bad that the original actually had the sound waves coming out of the mouthpiece. And I had to fix it at one point when I realized like, oh, that's not the way a phone works. Anyway, the most generic clip art. And so I had just written with where people could choose a color scheme. And by the way, I did honor what won, which was the black and white. It's totally wrong. The best one was the light blue on red, but whatever. I honored it. Anyway, so I wrote, since everyone loved it so much, I'm letting y'all pick which version will be the channel's profile picture. I'll also be making coins with it. They look rad. Y'all will get to see those before too long. And then I posted today, because there were more comments on it. They're so fucking unhinged. The reviews are in, and they're so good. The universally beloved new logo looks so rad on these coins I made. Very limited options to get some. Will probably happen in the future when I have time to make more, probably. I've also been using them as a fidget toy, fingering the edges for the last several weeks. These are so pleasant to finger. Let me just tell you, they are like, they feel so nice, and they improve your finger dexterity.
I love when it's pleasant to finger. I like that when it's pleasant to finger for me.
I'll send you one. I'll send you one. I'll send you a fingering coin. Anyway, so this is the new one, and these are the positive reviews that have come in. Is this what happens when you let ChatGPT design your logo instead of reaching out to the community and having a vote between options? Yellow phone was much more distinctive and recognizable. I love you people, and I really do, but there's a reason why I just released it with just the caption new logo, new details to come, and not what do you all think? And that's because after 8 years, I think I'm coming up on in this business, have you ever polled your audience and asked, hey, what would you guys like to see more of, and seen how bad the answers are? audiences do not have good instincts at all. At all. The number one response I used to get when I do this news show is, what if instead of focusing on the bad news, you did some episodes that were just good news? Because no one watches that shit is why we don't do that.
Unfortunately.
Many people have tried. Yeah, it doesn't
unfortunately.
work.
And anytime I try to talk about something I'm excited about. Yeah, no.
Yes.
No.
Exactly.
I say all the time, I get comments from people all the time who are giving me feedback on how I can make better videos on my YouTube channel. And I'll always, like, my go-to response lately has just been like, you have 6 subscribers. And I just won't say anything else. Yeah. And the person will be like, what do you mean? And I'll be like, what I mean is, why are you telling me how to make better content? You don't do this. Like, this is, you don't know what you're talking about.
I liked all the people who were like, you should hire a graphic designer. I'm like, I did. So I did make this with a graphic designer. Like but I mean, I would be the primary. I had editing notes from actually multiple graphic designers, because I was never a graphic designer, but I was an expert Photoshopper before YouTube. Anyway, I'm fine with people not liking it, by the way. I'm not trying to like, oh, if you don't like it, I hate you. I don't care. Fucking, it was never for you to like. It's for me to like. And this is the funny thing, is when people are like, how come Jimmy doesn't care about our opinions here? I'm like, you guys have seen me on the show before, right? Where I literally say, like, I don't make shit for you anymore. I make it for me. And then whoever happens to also like it. Like, that's the audience I'm aligning with. You come along for the ride or you fuck off. I give a shit. I hate being a public figure. You people have no idea. Anyway, I like this one. I see the line is taking the Democratic Party option of, we know better than you. Here are your shitty choices approach. That one's pretty good. That one's actually pretty good. Someone wrote, the telephone is iconic. It's really not. It's base level clip art. Yikes, I straight up thought this was a random community post for a YouTuber I don't subscribe to, as YouTube does for some reason. I have no clue how this is supposed to represent internet call-in show for discussing beliefs and if people should hold them. Must have missed the poll where everyone loved the design, because this is low-key giving Elon Musk Twitter redesign vibes. If you can capture internet call-in show for discussing beliefs and if people should hold them in a circle that you can still see when it's less than the size of a dime, I'll switch to your logo, bro. The line should be connecting the faces, not dividing them. I thought it was a line to communicate, not a line in the stand. Maybe it was my mistake. Yeah, because, here we are always trying to find middle grounds with the people we're constantly fighting. The Christian nationalists, the misogynists, the transphobes. What channel did you think this was? Oh, my God.
What would that look like? A line connecting the faces. What would that look like? A horizontal line that's across the faces? Like,
are you
a line between the noses?
Maybe it would be sideways, and then it would be like the kink where you're letting the spit slowly drip from one mouth to the other mouth. Could it be that?
I like that. I just think it's so funny that, like, someone could be a fan of a show and, for years, like, watch, support, donate in super chats and things like that. And then just like a little graphic shows up and they're like, fuck this show, scorched earth. Like, how dare you?
Yeah. I like this one. The logo is implying a gender dichotomy. I don't think this is the way you want to go. Please tell me the genders of these two. What? What genders are they? Do you think hair means woman?
Yeah, it's like when you put a rag on your head in like a vine and then you're a girl. It's that.
That's right.
If there's I've
got girlier hair than that shit, man. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm going to reference that next time somebody asks me, what is a woman? Are you just ignoring the comments? This design isn't loved. It's badly balanced and conveys anger, not conversation. And I just wrote back, it depends on your definition of ignoring. I prefer the word dismissing. Jimmy, stop trying to make your own stuff in GIMP and just hire a graphic designer. Someone mad that I said universally beloved, but where's the one that I really, really liked? I'll just do one more here. Oh, no, actually, two I really like. Okay. I don't understand why you ask for our opinions if you're just going to ignore them. You just want to feel validated rather than sincerely looking for feedback. I promise you, I don't want to feel validated and I don't want feedback. It's both, actually. But I didn't ask, actually. It's funny because you live so chronically online and see stuff that you mistook it for your opinion being asked for. It wasn't. I mean, it's fine. I don't mind people sharing. Like, do share. Fucking share and be mad. And dude, everybody go comment. Go to those comments. And if you hate it, go comment all you fucking want. Comment, and tell me how much you hate it. Or if you like it, it'll be less fun. You know what I see it as? Fucking algorithm. Clicks, baby. But my favorite has to be the AA cult has coins too. On the picture of the coins. You nailed it, man. That everything with coins is a cult, and that's us now too. Making challenge coins, we're a cult. Oh, actually, I do have one more. Universally beloved might be meant as a sarcastic joke, but it's a Trumpist type of spinning that I hate. Unsubscribing now. We got an unsubscribe.
I love that. I love that. I love when people tell me that they're unfollowing and it's on something where I'm like, that was it for you? That after all these years, that was the thing? And I'm like, okay, bye. But it's always like, why? First of all, it's it's not an airport. You don't need to announce your departure. That thing, like, no one gives a shit. Bye. But also like the things that people will be like, unsubbed, unfollow. Yeah. It's like, okay, cool. Like, but it's like that? All right.
22 people work here and you're mad that I specifically don't care if you like the logo or not? Like, that's fucking crazy. So I did the only thing that a sane person like myself would do. I have a laser, so this is laser paper, and then I etched it into some wood. Here's my wood version of it. Yeah. Here's a black aluminum business card and a blue aluminum. I didn't have time to do more, and a business card holder with it also. I wanted to do way more, but I was like, man, there's not enough time to just
that's hilarious
into everything. Anyway, linemerch.com, and we're doing the thing again. We've did this with a different type of merch. We're making the regular versions of it as cheap as possible, and then there are special designs. So like, if you want to be the person who helps keep like the t-shirts real as cheap as we can put them without losing money, essentially, we've got like a special design t-shirt with a different color scheme. And that one, I don't remember what it is. I think it's probably like $80 so that the regular t-shirts can be $19. So that's the way it works. Everybody go get it. Get the one you like. And then anybody who wants to supplement the cheap shirts, that's the way we do it. Turned out to be a rad idea.
Sometimes I wonder if I don't see things the same way that other people do, because this is like a phenomenon that happens from time to time on the internet where everyone will be unanimous that like a trailer for a movie will drop and everyone will be unanimous that like some CGI thing is like, whoa, this is the worst CGI we've ever seen. And I see it and I'm like, I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying like it looks like other movies to me. Like it just looks like that, like CGI sometimes is just look like when like, like the trailer for like Aladdin dropped and everyone saw Will Smith and they were like, what the fuck is that? I was like, that's kind of what I imagined CGI Will Smith as Genie would look like. He'd be blue Will Smith with like, I don't know, like what'd you think it was going to look like? And people are like, I'm not saying that I think that CGI Genie Will Smith looks good. I'm saying sometimes the internet just has this like collective outrage over an image that I'm like, what did you think it was going to be? Like, I don't know.
A similar thing to that is when people are mad, something gets remade that doesn't affect them at all. So I've seen people really mad about the live action Lilo and Stitch, literally with captions of like, I'm so mad. This movie was perfect. No one asked for this. And I'm like, I don't know if you know. You don't have to go and see it. You don't have to watch it at all. It doesn't affect you. They're not erasing the old one.
I'm gonna hate sitting in the theaters and watching this. Like I'm gonna be there on opening night and I'm pissed. It's like
just
you don't have to go.
I have to dress up in full makeup. I'm gonna be painting myself blue, putting on the ears.
Yeah,
it's just don't go. That's the funniest one to me where you're like, so don't watch it. Look, if you don't like me, don't watch. Like, that's literally my tag. That should be my tagline. I apologize at the end for people who actually watch the bonus show of our podcast. At the last words of the podcast for the patrons who get the bonus one is always, that's the show. I'm sorry. And then we end. That's how I feel about being here. And I don't need you to feel better about me being here than I feel about it. but I'm here. I love this channel because I've been able to get a group of people who I like much more than myself to do this job. And I'm joined today by one as such. I probably should have said this forever ago. This is Austin Archer, but everybody knows you're way more famous than I am. That's
I don't think so.
That's for sure. I mean, maybe once upon a time, but it wasn't good fame. I had the bad type. I realized I was essentially a T channel for people who really I was a T channel for people who were like, I deconstructed. I assume you're referring to my Mr. Atheist days, if that's what you're referring to. But I was a T channel for people who left religion and were like, okay, I don't want to just keep. I hated women before, and this is men and women. In fact, I had a mostly female audience. And it wasn't until an intervention with women creators who like kind of were like, that this is what you're doing, right? But it was basically like, you know how you were allowed to hate women before in your religion? What if you can still do that, but I'll give you the women that deserve it? So, 3 or 4 videos about the trad lives of Girl Defined, that's not enough for us. We're going 60 of them. I think I made something like 60 videos about those nightmare people. Anyway,
awesome.
So that's the world. Glenda's here. Glenda's an artist that I respect. So Glenda, if you tell me you hate, actually, here's what I'll do for the people who hate it. If 500 people buy the shirt with the logo on it and leave the comment, because you can leave a comment when you buy the shirt, logo gate, LOGOGATE, hashtag logo gate, I'll let you all pick the new logo. But if 500 of you have to prove that it's worth you're so mad about it and it affects your life so much, you'll spend the $20 to get a shirt shipped. That's what it'll take. That's who I am.
Like it.
Hi, Glenda. Miss you. We got to catch up soon. Oh, also, part of Glenda being here is probably that she wants to remind me that the next, the date is May. I think it's around the 10th, the weekend of the 10th. We are doing the next RFR fundraiser. Anyway, we were like 20 minutes in and haven't taken a call. Should we take a call?
Let's take a call.
Let's do it. Alfred in Texas. That's where I am. Alfred, you are on the line with Austin and Jimmy. How are you today?
Fine. How are
Alfred, you guys? Just peachy. Can you hear us all right? There's a bit of a delay there.
I can hear you. I'm just curious, what religion allows you to hate women?
Oh man, are you kidding?
Oh,
I came from Mormonism.
Kind of all of them. I don't. Yeah, which one? Like
all of them? That's an astounding claim.
Yeah.
I mean, well, like anyone that has like a patriarchal structure where like men are inherently more valuable than women and the men are the only ones that hold leadership positions and the men are the only ones that are allowed to like hold the power of God and kind of like work as like clergy leadership over the church, and the women all have to be subservient and kind of quiet. And I mean, I could just keep going on down the list. Like you might not call that hate, you might just kind of call that like different roles, but I would say that it encourages an environment and a society and a culture where women are seen as less than and as secondary to men.
Yeah, I'd certainly point also to the extreme control over their body and their sexuality, and not only a set of those rules that you might say, well, the men have those rules too, but institutionally, there's always a difference in the enforcement of those rules and how the person is looked upon. A man who broke the rules was a boy just being a boy, and a woman is a horrendous slut who is given away her virtue and her value. These would be the markers of women hate within the religions. But in Mormonism, they have an entire system of teaching women to just basically spend an entire hour every Sunday judging other women. It's pretty good. Pretty good stuff. They call it the Relief Society.
Well, I'm not a Mormon and I don't really have time to fact check all that. I'm just going to get back to my point. And it's that, and I think even you guys understand this. Sorry? Huh?
Oh, I just said word. Real quick, is anybody else having a break in the connection, or is this just me? Is it a little bit choppy?
I can hear it all. It's just we're getting a delay.
Okay. All right, word. Oh, I was having even chop from you as well. All right, cool. Yeah, sorry, Alfred. Go ahead.
Sure. I think Christianity is, for the most part, a good thing, and even you guys seem to understand it, because I'm probably not the first, like a caller call in and say, I'm Christian, here's why. And then you guys will jump on with, that stuff. Why don't you subject women? Why don't you own slaves? And you'll point to, barbaric passages in Leviticus or whatever. And I get it. And then when someone calls in to say, I'm a Christian, and from a Christian perspective, this is why I voted for Trump. And it's like, oh, you guys immediately turn the crazy off. And it's like, well, what about the Sermon on the Mount? What about welcoming the stranger? And it's like, even you guys know.
Alfred, I fully reject what you're saying because I know my own calls, and maybe you're saying somebody else on here does that, and I'm not familiar with them. I have never, ever indicated that I don't think it makes complete sense why Christians like Donald Trump, because I think that Christianity is absolutely seeped in an entire amount of hypocrisy. But there's plenty in the Bible to support the bullshit. However, there is no, if we're talking about pointing out hypocrisy, it's not a matter of we agree with Christianity or that he would be good. It would be that Jesus Christ and Donald Trump could not be more different as characters. And so pointing out hypocrisy is not the same as, I don't think Jesus Christ is great. I think there's plenty of negative things in the Sermon on the Mount and negative teachings from Jesus. Durante Lamar just did a great video about 10 awful teachings of Jesus, 10 awful things he said. So please get your facts straight. Pointing out hypocrisy is not the same as agreeing with the premise of it. I like Jesus more than I like most Christian superstars, though, if that makes you feel any better.
Okay. I'm just, so
go ahead.
I read the title of the show. Yes.
Mm-hmm. I don't even know what it is. Yeah, what is it? Okay. You still believe in God?
It's about
Why? Yeah, great. Go ahead.
Believing in. Yeah. So I know some of the arguments you people, the arguments you guys will make against the existence of God, and I don't know if I'll be able to engage with that because, frankly, I think you might have a point with some of it. And I'm just wondering what you make of us Christians who accept that we don't have a whole lot of evidence, and we just keep coming back to parts of the Bible, to church, to God, to Jesus.
Sure.
It's almost like we can't help ourselves, and I think part of that is, what else is there out there? What else is out there? And what is there to live for?
Austin? I've got plenty to say, but I'd love to give you.
I'll give you a nice, easy answer here, Alfred. That's just approaching this with the most empathy I possibly can. If I take you at your word here that you're just a person who you don't know that you don't know everything, you don't feel like you have all the answers to the origin of the universe or to the creation of life itself, and you're just doing your best and you're sort of adhering to a faith structure that helps you to be a good person. It gives you some kind of structure and direction in your life. I personally don't really have much of a problem with that. Like in principle, in the abstract, when you talk about like, oh, you guys even understand that Christianity is a good thing, I look at it and go, it has the potential to be okay in people's, it has the potential to be something that doesn't have to be toxic. It's just that so often in its application culturally, it becomes toxic. It's just that more often than not, the vast majority of what we are exposed to in cultural Christianity is highly toxic. And people will say stuff like, Jimmy was just saying at the beginning of the show that we should change the fallacy from no true Scotsman to no true Christian, because anytime we do point to a Christian who's doing one of these really toxic things, everyone goes, oh, well, that's not true Christianity. But it's like, I can't tell you the amount of times that Christians in my comments have gone, oh, that's just evangelicals. And I'm like, do you know that evangelicals are like the majority of Christians in America? That that's that most Christians, conservative Christians in America are evangelicals. So you can't just dismiss this like massive swath of people that are part of the same faith as you. You can't just say everyone that uses Christianity as a cudgel to bludgeon people with, or to, as like a tool for bad, isn't a true Christian. You have to accept those people as part of your cultural faith practice, even if it's not the way that you practice it. I want to believe that you practice it the way that you say you do, that you're not sure about everything, but this thing sort of works for you. I would ask questions too when you say, there has to be something more. There has to be something else. It can't just be this. I'd say, cool, sure. Why does it have to be Jesus in the Bible? Why not Vishnu? Why not, Allah? Why not Thor? Why not, any other god that people ascribe to? Why do you pick Christianity? My guess is it's the one you were born into and the one you were culturally raised in. So it's the one that just feels the most familiar to you and the most easy to grasp onto. But I would still say, like, if you as a person, as an individual, I have family members and friends who are practicing Christians, if you just want to have, if it's just your personal thing that you like believing in and it doesn't seep out onto other people, you're not like judging queer people or thinking that women should be secondary to men or anything like that, and it's just a personal thing for you that you think helps you, I personally have no problem with it. It's just that so often that's not the case. So often Christianity does bleed out onto the rest of society in all of these really upsetting ways.
I'm more radical than Austin is, though. I do still have a problem with I don't think there's such thing as a harmless faith belief, and I think it's not only that it's a problem for the gullibility of the individual, but that it's a foundational acceptance of something that we can't unify with that person over trying to stop people with more dangerous beliefs. So while I find, like, and by the way, Alfred, I don't think you've actually even said you're a progressive Christian. Do you reflect more progressive Christianity or conservative Christianity, Alfred?
Well, you're asking a free spirit leading question, so I don't really have an answer. I'm not going to let you put me in a box. I would just note that
Alfred, hang on. I'm in the middle of my point. I'm trying to ask a clarifying thing that's useful to it. But fine, if you don't want to participate in the conversation, I'll make sure I note that when you should have a question back for me in the future, because it wasn't a trap. I was just trying to find out where you're coming from and where it reflects.
All right.
And by the way, you are going to lean one more way than the other. That's just a fact.
Well, sure. It's like asking Mr. Gray, are you white or black? Like, well, that question is designed to generate heat, not light, in my opinion. I mean,
okay,
I'm afraid
great.
I can't
Thank
answer
you. I'm excited. I'm excited for how honest and great and straightforward this conversation is clearly going to go when something that is actually simple and not an attack couldn't be answered. But anyway, then continuing onward, with the point I was going to make, foundationally, let's say you were a progressive Christian, I will unify with you over values that I have. But then when it comes to, by the way, part of the problem is that a lot of people are believing for bad reasons. It comes back to your original question of what about people like you who acknowledge you don't have much evidence, but feel you are compelled to believe it anyway and don't want to let that go? Well, my answer on what I feel about people like that is that it seems to me easy for you to recognize that there are other people of religions that are in conflict with yours, that you would understand it would be important for them to open up their mind to potentially changing if it's true that they don't have that evidence. So, for example, a radical Muslim who has perhaps even violent tendencies, a person who might be associated with a terrorist organization, that if that is truly rooted in their faith, and they are similarly yoked, that they don't have a lot of evidence and they just feel compelled anyway and that they're comfortable with it, that you would want that person, it seems likely to me, to take stock of that and hopefully change, that would seem like the quickest path for them to change. And if it's easy to go, oh, a person with that type of belief could easily think that they are good when they are in fact bad. And it isn't until you actually start accepting only things which can be demonstrated to be true, can you really take an audit for yourself. Thank you, Alfred. I needed that. Could you actually take an audit? Actually, Alfred, why should I continue the call at this point? I'm literally answering your question and you're doing a passive aggressive loud sigh into the...
It's a monologue.
What?
It's an answer, though. It's an answer. Like, it's a monologue if you don't listen. Like, if that's, as a person who yaps, like, professionally for a living, I have friends say this to me sometimes where they'll be like, oh God, you're just like we'll be out to dinner and they'll be like, you didn't even ask any questions. And I'm like, I did ask questions. And also, like, when you're talking, I'm not just going, God, when is this guy going to get me done talking so I can talk next? You asked a question and he's answering your question. So if all you're thinking is, oh, when is he going to stop talking? Why the fuck did you call in? Like, why'd you call? You called the show where we. Yeah,
like, you wanted my answer, but apparently not. So, Alfred, go ahead. You apparently have consumed enough that you don't feel you needed more. You know my answer, so please give a very thoughtfully worded rebuttal to what I've just said, an answer showing your comprehension of my point and that I was using far more words than was necessary for you to understand it. Go on.
No, I mean, I know you're a sophisticated guy. It's just... I got it.
Yeah, I felt like shit, huh?
You brought up the no true Christian fallacy. Can I have some space to breathe? Is that okay? Am I allowed to respond?
As long as... Yeah, just careful what sound that breath takes.
Okay. So the no true Christian fallacy, I don't think this is like a slam dunk on it, but there's plenty of places in the Bible, 2 or 3, where it said a true Christian follows the example of Jesus. And like, if someone does something and you can't see, like, would Jesus prop up people to fight a war they can't win, the Ukrainians? No, he wouldn't do that because that's immoral. He wouldn't do that. If someone says, no, that is Christian, you have to ask yourself, is this something Jesus would do? Would Jesus oppress women? No. So yes, there are Christians oppressing women. That doesn't mean that they're true Christians. Does that make sense?
You're saying Jesus wouldn't prop up a country to fight a war they can't win, so Jesus would be like, just let them die. What's happening in Ukraine is it's a sovereign nation that is being invaded by an imperialistic force unjustly. I mean, it's a war crime. It's a crime on the world stage. And we're saying we should support the people who are the victims of the crime. And you're saying Jesus wouldn't do that. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're saying Jesus wouldn't do that because he'd be propping up a country in a war that they have no chance of winning. He would be in favor of just saying, just let them all die because they have no chance of winning anyway. Is that what you're saying?
He literally told a parable about this, that if a king is going to war and he has 1,000 troops, and he's going against another king who has 2,000 troops, and he figures out, oh, I can't beat this guy. He's not going to fight him because all his men will die for nothing. You know, human life actually means something to us Christians. And it's
Thank you for pointing out one of the terrible teachings of Jesus, which is literally the might makes right, which is funny because I hear that.
It's not.
I hear people thinking that's literally might. He's not going to go to war because he's outnumbered. So the cost of life, that's literally might makes right, buddy. Also, did Jesus support the law of Moses? Yes, it is. Did Jesus support the law of Moses?
It depends what you mean by the law of Moses.
No, it doesn't.
I know you're
pedantic.
Okay.
You pedantic ass. You won't answer any question directly. The law of Moses is a specific thing. Great, go for it.
Sure. So, if I may be given some space to breathe, okay.
You could just answer.
A little history.
No. I didn't ask for a history lesson. I asked a yes or no question. No. It isn't, because he said it very directly. I'll give you a hint. It's the verse where he mentions tittle. I find the verse titillating. Did he support the law of Moses?
Holy buddy goody. Yes, in the first century, there was an understanding that the Torah was written when we were in a place of power, when we could actually enforce those laws. We can no longer enforce that. That was written for a different time.
Incorrect.
And the Jews of that time
were
learning to reinterpret it.
Yeah. Not a tittle.
And Jesus also says that the summation of the law and the prophets, what is that? Would you say
not a tittle, baby?
What
I'm
is
sorry.
the law and the prophets? Jesus.
Excuse me, Alfred. Alfred, are you trying to ask a hyper specific question if I can quote a specific verse? You're welcome to give me the verse. No, I don't have the book memorized, but it is very funny and very telling to what sort of argument style you have here. See, mostly you've avoided doing direct questions, and now you're trying to do gotchas in the form of, do you have the exact verse memorized and can complete it?
No, I just figured
he didn't
you knew.
change it.
Okay,
Was the law
fine.
of Moses
Okay.
good for women?
So
Yes or no?
no.
Okay.
No.
And did Jesus support the law of Moses?
If we had a first century rabbi in our presence, I don't think he would be 100% on board with it being in effect.
I think he'd be not a tittle on board.
Well, he also said, so to get back to my question,
is Jesus God?
You couldn't answer, which is fine.
Is Jesus God?
So
that's
what
cute.
was the question that we couldn't
answer my question?
What was the question? What was the question that we couldn't answer?
No, it was that I couldn't recite the exact verse he wanted.
No, it's pretty simple. Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount, which you just cited, fine. He said, "Do unto others what you would have them do to you." This is the law and the prophets.
Mm-hmm.
That was a summation of the law to him,
and
that was for many Jews of his time. And I think
I like
you know
said for many Jews of his time, because it also points out another mistake you're making, which is that these laws were handed to Jews for how they treated other Jews. That law, the Sermon on the Mount, and the Ten Commandments, and what would I assume, I guess, become Christians later. These weren't given out as universal laws to everybody. This was, love your neighbor meant love your Jewish neighbor. And by the way, it also referred to how men treated other men. Because keep in mind that Jesus was still upholding the old laws, which treated women as property. Now, Alfred, do you believe that Jesus is God, or do you believe in a separate Jesus and God?
That's too personal.
Okay, well, then, Alfred, I don't know what the point of this call is. I'm not, if we're talking about, first of all,
the definition of neighbor.
Alfred, shut up. There is no point anymore. We're having a theological discussion, and I have questions that are relevant to the point being made. And you see that if you answer that question, it's going to undermine the stupid things you already said, and it's going to reveal the shallow nature of your thought. So to pretend like Donald Trump did when asked what his favorite favorite book, are you more New Testament or Old Testament? I'd say equal. What's your favorite verse? It's too personal, because you don't actually have a way to answer that question that doesn't reveal your ignorance and buffoonery. What is the point of continuing this call if you won't just engage honestly, and you're going to be somehow more pedantic than me? And I've been told I'm a pedantic specialist.
It's not polite to answer every question.
Okay, that's what we're doing, though, Alfred. That's what we're doing.
It's not polite to answer.
That's what the show is. That's what the show is.
I don't want to come across.
I would like to.
I don't want to come across really quickly. Know-it-all.
But that's what you're. That's what you're here. That's what you're here to do, though. You're here to teach us. But yeah, but I would like to. I want to touch on one thing really quick. You said this.
I want to know which one it is. Is it more? Was it too personal, or he doesn't want to come off as a know-it-all? Which one was true?
Yeah. Okay, it's neither is the answer. But I do want to go back to this thing where you said Christians care about the value of human life, and that's why Jesus wouldn't support trying to defend Ukraine. We would just let the people there be taken over. I want to make this a simpler object lesson for you.
Fighting. Many of them it's not a choice. They're being press ganged into fighting. And they're leaving the country because they know that.
Alfred, I'm gonna give you an example here. I'm gonna talk in a parable to you. Okay, so this is the parable. Let's say that you and your family in your home. Let's say that a gang shows up at your house and they say, "This is our house now. Your family's my family now. I can do whatever I want with your family." And there's more of them than there are of you. Is the right thing to do, is the Christian thing to do, to say, listen, I don't want my kids to die. I don't want my wife to die. I don't want my family to die. Or whoever you live with, I don't know, your mom, dad, your brothers, sisters, whoever. Is the right thing to say, I don't want them to die, so I'm going to let them just be kind of taken over and ruled by this gang in my house because the gang's stronger than us? Or should someone step in and help you and your family? What do you think is the more moral thing to do in that situation? What do you think that a person who cares about the value of human life should do in that situation? Should they just go, hey, Alfred's house has been taken over by a gang. He should not be pressured into fighting back. He should just let that gang do whatever they want to do with him and his family because the gang is stronger. And it would be is that what you think?
It's a false analogy because with Ukraine,
it's not at all. It's not a false analogy.
It is. It totally is. Because are you suggesting we should send troops to fight in Ukraine? Because that's what your analogy would entail.
I'm saying you should.
There would be a line.
There's a line. I'm saying you should you support the family that's being invaded by the outside force? Should you support them, or should you say they should just take it? They should just bend over and take it. Which one?
I don't like that kind of.
I know you don't like it. I don't care. It's the analogy.
It's because it's too personal.
Your logic, Alfred.
Confident. No. I'll get to it. So, I know you guys are leftists, and with you guys, it's not humanity, it's not human life, it's power. And I get that. I get.
No, it is human life.
Alfred,
I'm asking you a question about human life.
I have loved from the beginning of your call. In fact, it was the start of your call, how so much of your stuff is prefaced with what you think. And the first thing you suggested was wrong. Like your very first one. If your points are so strong, why do you need to blanket it in straw men of our points or exaggerations or hyperbole or just actually I'd say it's mostly reductionism, that you like to go as reductionist as you can with our points. If your points are so strong, why can't you just give your point? And if you're going to try to return our points to us, why go reductionist instead of steelman? Because I'll steelman you all day long. I've even tried to set you up for it, but then it's too personal.
You think I
to
feel
make
steel
sure
man?
that I can fully understand your perspective. Excuse me?
You think I feel steelman? You think I feel steelman?
How could I? Alfred, how could I steelman you? You won't answer the questions that I need the answers to clarify your position, to know where you are coming from. You are preventing
you intentionally
yourself from
asking loaded questions?
Alfred, you are purposefully preventing yourself from being understood. It is a cowardly method of that's not the right word, of communicating. You are being cowardly in your resistance and reductionism. I would love to steelman you because I would love to have an honest interlocutor who could be steelmanned. But right now, I can't get you to answer basic questions.
Okay. All right. So to answer the other person's question, I'm sorry, I don't know your name.
All right.
Forrest.
If we had a family, and let's say I'm 95% confident that if this guy goes to arms with his family and fights this gang, and they're all just going to be slaughtered, then it would be immoral in that case, because human life matters to me more, even subjected human life, than power in your eyes. And Ukraine has a limited amount of troops. And
you're the one who's worshiping power here. You're the one who's worshiping power here. No, you're saying that because the gang is stronger, you should just let the gang have their way with the family. You're the one who's worshiping power. No, but I'm saying,
by the way,
it doesn't have to be.
The gang's only stronger without your support, by the way. It's literally, if I just give my support, we're actually stronger than the gang loses.
You can support the family.
Isolated. Yeah.
You can support the family and make the family stronger, but you're choosing that gang looks really scary. But no, you're saying no. You're saying if the gang's too strong, then we should back off and the family should just take it. It is. It's the exact analogy, Alfred.
No.
Thank you, referee Alfred. I didn't know we were debating the ref today.
Would you like to hear why it is a bad analogy?
Please.
No, not particularly. I'd like to hear I would like to actually just hear your counterpoint, because I don't think you've already shown that you're not capable of breaking them down. I mean, if you really wanted to, you can.
In your thought experiment, other people could come to their aid and fight for them.
And should come to their aid. And should come to their aid. People who are their allies, friends, and have pledged their aid to them.
Okay, now I need a little space to breathe here. Okay, the situation in Ukraine is very different. Sorry?
Keep going.
I said okay.
We are not sending troops to Ukraine. They have a limited, and they're not asking for troops. They have a limited amount of troops. They are a country 4 times smaller than Russia, and Russia has nukes. And Russia isn't going to back out of this. They view Ukraine's entry into NATO as an existential threat. So they're not going to back out of this, and Ukraine is being propped up, and many of them know they're not going to win this. And that's why they're leaving. That's why they're having the press gang them. That's why they're fighting. Russian soldiers are fighting 14-year-old boys, 70-year-old geezers in uniform, and it's like, what the hell? Like, you realize you don't do that if you're winning. You realize that,
Alfred?
Correct?
I like that people accuse me of taking Soros money when I do my job for free, and you're doing Putin's job for free, because all of that was just such Russian talking points. No, they don't know that they're going to lose. In fact, there's lots of good reasons to believe that with good support, they will win. In fact, they almost have already. In a way, the election of Trump is the only reason that Russia is changing the tide and direction of things, as well as like the actual satisfaction at home, because you do actually have to have the support of your population, and the Russian death toll so much higher than the Ukrainian death toll by a lot.
Believe those numbers?
I believe numbers close enough to those numbers. Alfred. At this point, it's like talking with a flat earther, where it's like, oh yeah, but you believe the best data that we actually have. But I listened to Don Bongino.
There's a real fog of war.
I listened to Don Bongino, and he says those numbers, and when he says those numbers are super wrong, he says it with such confidence that I think it's crazy that you believe any numbers similar to those that actually the Russian side and the Ukrainian side have essentially validated. And there's plenty of good reasons to believe those numbers. But yes, the Russians have lost a lot more people than the Ukrainians, and the Ukrainians were in a much better position before the guy that I suspect you voted for, since I think that's why you wouldn't answer earlier what your political alignment was. I think that the best data we have suggests that a continued support of our neighbor and our ally would have resulted in a better situation for everybody over there and our own security. I don't know why we're getting specific on this, because at the end of the day, we're trying to figure out why you believe in God. But what do I think about the people who what?
The people who are being press ganged into fighting. What do you think about their human rights?
I think it's a very, very sad thing, the idea that anybody should be compelled. And I think if we were adequately supporting our allies, we wouldn't have to, that situation wouldn't be a thing. But whether or not there are things that are bad that happen, I also think Ukraine has committed war crimes against the Russians. It doesn't mean that then means Ukraine just gets to lose.
It's also not like us that's compelling them to fight. Like it's the nation that is invading them.
Their government is.
It's right, but that's what happens when you're a sovereign nation that gets invaded by an outside imperialistic force. Is like
you get to force people to kill other people.
I don't think
we did it too, baby.
We've done it. We've done it. Yeah, we've done it. And I'm not saying
wrong.
that
it's inhumane.
Probably.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. But most
think
Christians would
force people to kill other people.
Alfred, Alfred, shut the fuck up. You're so indignant that you can't listen to the words being said, because we both actually agreed with you that compelling people to fight in wars is immoral. And then, who do you think you are? What is this fucking weird indignation?
It's because he can't be honest. You can't be honest.
You can't win just by actually engaging and hearing and everything. So now if you just act emotionally indignant, boy, you're going to nail us to the wall when people believe what you think we believe. Hey, Alfred, why do you believe in God? What's your best reason? Give it to me.
I'm not at liberty to
I'm not being interrogated.
Yeah, you're not being interrogated. This is literally...
You called a show that said, tell us why you believe in God. And then you said, I'm not going to be interrogated about my beliefs on God. You called. Yeah. You volunteered for an interrogation about your faith.
You consented to it, baby.
I don't need to answer condescending questions.
Hey, Alfred.
That means you look down on me.
It wasn't a condescending question. It's literally the question. We already know you believe in God. Maybe I would think that your reason was at least better than other people's reasons. And what my personal opinion of you is, you called into the show whose question is, why do you believe in God? Alfred, I think you're a coward. That's what I think of you. If you are worried about me looking down on you, your refusal to answer the question that is the theme of the show, I assure you has accomplished that.
You're acting entitled to my response. I mean,
okay, let me explain this to you, Alfred. I am entitled to your response, or else there will be consequences. If that's what entitlement is, you must answer, or there will be consequences. And Alfred, I am telling you right now, I am the host of this show. I'm not just the host of the show. I own the whole fucking channel, my boy. Alfred, if you don't answer, I'm done with you. So the answer, the following out of your mouth needs to be, I believe in God because, or else it's over, baby. And if you feel that means I'm entitled, I give a shit. Kind of am entitled to do what I want with my fucking show.
You feel in charge?
I do.
He is in charge. It's you called a show that he's the host of, that he owns, that he is in charge, literally.
You realize I'm playing you like a fiddle right now.
Yeah, really well. Hey, what?
Alfred, everyone that's watching is so impressed with you. You're so impressive. Yeah. It's crazy. Your ability to say, I'm not at liberty to say, or that's too personal, is you're working logical circles around us. It's amazing. It's an amazing feat to behold.
Alfred, what thing do you dislike the most about how we engage? Now, I want to know if you feel like you're in charge, since right now no one can hear you, because as the person literally in charge, I've taken away your ability to make a sound. So, Alfred, I will unmute you for one last question. Oh, he hung up. I had one last one for him.
Well, he kind of got us there, Jimmy. He showed that he has the power to hang up, which we forgot about. So
no, I forgot about. Yeah,
point Alfred. I think that he kind of played us like a fiddle. I think we got played like a fiddle. I think you got to shut down the channel.
The whole thing's done.
In all the years that you've been doing this,
so I can forward the Google checks to you, please.
In all the years that you've been doing this, have you ever been played so thoroughly?
Oh, I'm embarrassed. The real reason I left, I've been taking a break for several weeks, is that I just realized that I wasn't any good at this, and to come back on and have my first interaction to be owned as though I am an ancient Canaanite under his God's laws.
Can you imagine calling into a show thinking you're going to like own some atheists, not being able to answer a single question, being asked several questions and not being able or willing to answer a single one, and then saying, I win, and hanging up? Like, what a use of your day.
I feel like the best shot he might have is if his I'm playing you like a fiddle was his revelation that I am so dumb that I made you believe I'm actually a Christian. But I'm not. I'm just doing whatever. Which would be, listen, man, good on you if you are trolling and you actually called in on your phone, because now I have your fucking phone number. Good on you. I don't know. Fucking A. All right, let's talk to Aurora in New York. Aurora in New York. The last question I was going to ask the caller, Alfred, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask you instead. And that is, what do you think of the channel's new logo? Aurora, are you there?
I love it.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Aurora. I love you. How are you, Aurora?
You.
I think you said good. Aurora, first things first, just because I want to check on something, because this will affect how the call goes. How old are you?
I'm 9.
Sorry, Aurora. We can't... there's no version of engaging with a 9-year-old that would go be any good. But I appreciate you, Aurora. We just I think our number's probably 16. You probably have to be at least 16 to call. Sorry about that. All right. You have a good day though.
Thanks, Aurora. Don't listen to what the adults at church tell you. They're bad.
Yeah, they're real bad.
The adults at church are bad.
There's no way to engage. Like, I'm like, what?
I know.
What would the upside of this call possibly be?
It's just like, hopefully there's an adult in your life, like an aunt or an uncle who's like queer or something, that you can like look at as like an example of like a person who's living a honest existence outside of theology, and you'll grow up and be fine, hopefully.
Yeah. Let's speak to my namesake. By the way, if you are a theist and you want to have an honest discussion, and I'd love to have an honest discussion with a religious person, because that first call, you can call that call a lot of things. Honest is not high on the list. That number is 720-619-2288. We would love to talk with you, but next we will talk to my namesake, a theistic Jimmy, who believes there is a prophecy about the line. Is that this channel, the line in the Bible? And does it have to do with the universal beloved nature of the new logo? I'm surprised it has 100% approval rating so far. Jimmy, how are you?
I'm doing all right. How you doing?
I'm okay.
Hello?
Jimmy, I feel like you've called before. I think I recognize your voice. Have you called before?
Yes, I called. I called many times. I'm just curious about. I like your show, but I'm just like, there's some things. Hello.
Hi, I just said I like you said you like the show, and I said I like your accent.
Yes, yes, thank you. I'm from Nigeria. I'm an African. I'm from Nigeria, so I have a strong accent.
Oh, I was hearing more the New York influence, though. You've definitely picked up the that New York twang. No one ever.
Yeah, I live in New York. I live here. Yeah, there's a Bible verse. I like. You guys make a lot of sense with your arguments, but there's a Bible verse that's like talks about what's happening in the end times, about the ongoing apostasy, about people not taking people fall away from the Bible, people like departing from Christianity. There's a Bible verse that talks about it in particular.
What's the verse?
Do you like 1 Timothy chapter 4 verse 1. 1 Timothy chapter 4 verse 1.
And do you have a preference in the Bible version? Is New Independent Version, International Version good, or what do you like?
King James. I prefer King James.
All right. That's the one I grew up with, kind of. I grew up with like the King James Plus version, little JST on top. All right, I'll read it out loud for you. The Spirit clearly says that in later times, some will abandon the faith and follow deceiving spirits and things taught by demons. So are we the demons? Is that why you said that this is the line?
Yeah, because you're telling people that there's no God, that you're telling people that God doesn't exist and all that. So you're kind of fulfilling the Bible prophecy in a way. They say that many people depart from the faith. So you guys are kind of fulfilling the prophecy. So
Jimmy, let me ask you this. Let's say hypothetically, I'm not asking you to admit we're right. But you know what a hypothetical is, yeah?
Sure, I do. Yes.
All right. Hypothetically, let's say we're correct about the Bible, and the Bible is actually a religious book that is meant to sort of control people and has nefarious, and the use of the book is meant to be nefarious. Let's say just hypothetically we're right. If you were writing such a book, wouldn't you include in it verses that sort of try to make people wary of anyone who opposes the books? Wouldn't you include verses like, anybody who's telling you this isn't true is a demon? Wouldn't you include verses like, the wise people who have all the facts and the science, they're actually foolish. The wise people are fools. Wouldn't you, just in the hypothetical, wouldn't you, in writing a nefarious religious book, try to prepare people for opposition and denigrate that opposition in advance so that you can maintain your control over them?
Well, that's a very, very loaded question. It's
not. It's actually really simple. I'll make it easier then. You don't have to talk about you.
Please do.
Hypothetically, here's way easier. Hypothetically, can you see that there would be a value in that? So, for example, verses in the Quran. You don't believe in the Quran, do you, Jimmy?
No, I'm not a Muslim. I don't believe in the Quran. Yeah, I'm not Muslim.
Right. So you wouldn't think verses in the Quran about infidels and the ways in which infidels are evil and will try to drag you down. Infidels referring to also Christians, and that essentially Christians are going to try to drag you to hell. You would see that functionally, if Christianity's right and Muslims are wrong, you would include verses like that in the Quran to try and insulate people from Christianity. That you can recognize that would be a very useful thing to do, right?
Yeah, but I'm not Muslim, so I don't know about the Quran.
No, Jimmy, great. You don't have to be a Muslim. You just have to acknowledge
just pointing out that those verses like that exist in the Quran. Verses that say there will be people.
The Book of Mormon. Yeah. You're not a Mormon either, are you, Jimmy? And the Book of Mormon has all.
I'm not a Mormon. I'm a Christian.
Yeah.
I know. We know. Jimmy, can I read you a verse? Is that okay? Can I read you a verse?
Oh, a verse from where? The Bible?
Well, it's a verse from a book that of prophecies that I subscribe to. This is from the Book of Austin, and it's the chapter 1, verse 1. And this is a prophecy that I actually wrote down, and it says, Jimmy from Nigeria who lives in New York is still going to believe in his version of the biblical God by the end of this call, no matter what we say, even though we're really cool and smart and right about things. So that's a prophecy I just made. I hope you don't fulfill that prophecy there, Jim. Do you think you're going to fulfill the prophecy by the end of this call? I'm just saying that's what it says in the book. That's what it says in the book, dude. And that's the prophecy.
I know, but we do respect. So we do respect. The Bible is there's no book called Book of Austin. There's a book. There's a Bible that would take it very serious.
I wrote the Book of Austin, and I take my book very seriously. And that's a prophecy that I wrote. And I'm just saying, like, if you fulfill the prophecy, that means I'm a prophet, kind of, doesn't it? Because I wrote down that you're going to believe in your version of God no matter what we say, even though we're really cool and right. You're going to do that, right? So, therefore, you're fulfilling the prophecy from the Book of Austin, right?
With respect, I'm trying to understand you. Like you said, the Bible is a real book. People believe in the Bible. There's billions of Christians worldwide that believe in the Bible.
My book's real. I wrote it. It exists. It's on my computer right now. Okay, it's short. It's just that one verse, but it's real. It's a book that I wrote.
Jimmy, I also already gave you, Jimmy. Hang on, Jimmy. I already gave you the examples of other books, and I've already given you, and you've already acknowledged that. Yeah, sure, I see the utility. It would be useful, and the whole point of that exercise, Jimmy, is to say just because your book says that. Even if you can say that has happened, that there are people who are trying to get other people to abandon their faith, that doesn't actually mean that the book is true. It means that the writers of the book, either it is true, look, I'm not saying it means it's not true. Maybe it is true and they're actually prophesying that. Or it could be, one of the alternative explanations could be that the authors anticipated pushback, perhaps based on previous pushback, and wrote down things to prepare that insulation from other people. All I'm pointing out to you, Timothy, is what you call a fulfilled prophecy, I call an obvious attempt to prepare people to hear opposition that will be very compelling and go, well, I mean, obviously I don't have all the facts, but this Bible says I'm right anyway.
And that's what I'm saying with the thing that I wrote down is it's like, I can make a prediction about how this interaction's going to go. It doesn't mean that I'm a prophet. It doesn't mean that I can make a prediction and say, by the end of this call, you're not going to change your mind. That's just most likely how it's going to go based on my past experience doing this show. And that doesn't mean that I'm speaking to God or God is speaking through me. It's just that like, I can make that, I can write that down and be accurate, but it doesn't mean that you're actually fulfilling some kind of ancient divine prophecy. Does that make sense?
Okay, let me understand you. Let me try to understand what you're saying. That means you're saying that. So you're saying that what the Bible says in Timothy verse 4, verse 1 is not a prophecy. That is just like prophecy predicts the future, right? Right? Correct, right?
Yep.
I mean, that's what it intends to do.
Yes.
There's clearly, I don't know if it's a delay or what, but don't yell hello every time we haven't answered within 2 seconds of you finishing. It's not even 2 seconds. You're saying it too fast, bud.
Okay,
Hello?
I'm just trying to understand what you're talking about. Sorry about that.
Okay.
I like this conversation. I'm just trying to understand you. What you're saying.
Here's the better part. Here's the better response to you, Jimmy. This is so confusing. I have two Jimmys here, especially looking at the live chat. It's fucking wrecking my mind. But Jimmy, all religious books claim to have prophecies. All religious people claim to have had prophecies in their religious books fulfilled, and claims evidence that other ones are going to be fulfilled. So either all the religions are right at the same time despite being in conflict, in other words, an impossibility is true, or the method by which you prophesy is vague enough, or things that are expected enough that it's not that impressive. Like when people go, what about when it says in the last day there will be wars and rumors of wars? You mean that prophecy of things that have always been the case since written civilization has existed, and it's before and then again after the world continued to operate the way it roughly did then? And you're saying here, this verse is going to be, let's say that the narrative is correct and this is actually written during Jesus's time. This verse would be people talking about other people abandoning the faith, which would have been happening then also. And so they're writing about what's happening then. And so of course it's going to happen again in the future.
Okay, now I understand you. So what you're saying that this didn't happen then, so they're just writing it down in order to anticipate that it will happen in the future. Is that what I'm saying? Is that correct, sir?
Yes, and prophecies in general operate on that.
Well, and also that from the time this was written, whether that was 2,000 years ago or whether that was 1,500 years ago, we don't know which translation of the Bible this verse initially emerged in. But from the point that this verse was originally written, people have been doing what Jimmy and I are doing today. So it says, in the later days, there will be demons who are leading people astray. But from the point that these words were originally written, there were people doing what we're doing. There were people saying that book's not true. That book's not an accurate record of the mind of God or his will. And so it kind of begs the question, like, when are the later days? Like, when is, because if the prophecy was already being fulfilled when it was written, and it continued to be fulfilled every day since, it's not really a prophecy, right? It's just someone making an observation about the fact that, like, there are people in the world who work hard to discredit our book. So we're going to write a verse that says that.
Weird data. Everything's breaking out. I'm going to refresh.
Wow, now I see what you're talking about. That means they wrote this verse in anticipation that there'll be people like you guys telling people that God is not real and stuff like that. Is that what you're saying in essence?
Jimmy, do you understand that? What period of time do you think there wasn't challenges to Christianity or all religions somewhere?
Yeah, like you said, there have always been challenges to religion. Yeah, people have always challenged Christianity, but like the intensity that is happening at this stage right now is like the intensity with the technology going on, and I see a lot of people in YouTube. They're not saying they don't believe in God no more. They abandon their faith, and you guys are making a lot of sense. But I'm just scared that what if this Bible is like, how come the Bible is so ahead of you guys then? If
it's not
ahead of you.
No,
Jimmy. I was reading Timothy the book. Jimmy, the thing that you're describing as ahead of me again is these vague passages. If prophecies in the Bible worked, we probably wouldn't even call them prophecies, because you notice we don't call things prophecies that are real life predictions that people are making using like the scientific method. Nobody's calling it a prophecy that in 2032 we're going to have a close call with an asteroid. Like, we have the data to back it up. That asteroid is showing up, or the fact that we know when every major solar eclipse for the next however many thousands of years is going to happen. No one called it a prophecy when scientists correctly I watched the solar eclipse, the full solar eclipse from my house. I guess this was last year. I think it was last year. I watched from my backyard. It was amazing. And you know what? I didn't go, oh my God, the prophecy is fulfilled. It's that's what a prediction looks like where it's good. And they didn't go, no scientist was out there talking about the next time the solar eclipse will happen is when flowers and their bees reject each. They weren't using like poetry and these vague terms and these general truisms. There will be cars on the street when the next things that were already happening and calling that a prediction. They're just going, this event's going to happen on this day. It's going to have roughly, this amount of coverage in this part of the country. That's what predictive power looks like, and it's based in data. But obscure poetry and saying things that are happening now will happen in the future is what prophecies look like.
Well, and that's like,
Jimmy, but please, I want to understand this. But you say you guys believe in so much in scientific methods. I had a discussion with one of your hosts. But science changes a lot. They change their mind all the time, so they're not consistent.
Excuse me. Scientists are people. Science doesn't have a mind to change, and the scientific method includes a refinement process by which we gain a better understanding. So when you want to say science changes its mind, no, it doesn't. Whatever the facts of the universe are the facts. We imperfectly uncover those facts and we start to figure out what those are. And at some points it goes, what fits the narrative the best right now of why this over here is happening is this, this, and this. And then we find out through these methods of things like peer review and repeated experiments that parts of it were wrong, and we refine it. So this whole science changes their mind about it. Almost every time you can find a major thing, a major change, it wasn't like a doctor. It was more like a chiropractor said something, and then science came along and debunked it or refined it. Evolution, as the basis of that theory, has remained consistent for the last however long it's been now, but the elements of evolution, the actual mechanisms by which it works, the uncovering of genetics and stuff, those things have been added and refined, and that refinement process makes it better and better. But you can always say that even during those flawed parts, we were closer to reality than before, our understanding of reality, and certainly closer
Thank you very much.
Than from young Earth creation.
Thank you very much, Jimmy. Well, Jimmy, there's one last question I ask you, and I like this conversation. There's one last question. Is there one thing that you're for sure that this is very, very certain that the Bible got wrong? That is scientifically proven, that is factual, that the Bible got it wrong. That you can say that this is what the Bible says and is wrong.
Sure.
Is there one thing you know about? Okay, name one thing.
Many. The age of the earth, but it'll all depend on whether you even agree that the age of the earth is established. But if you do the math and you add up the things in the Bible does pretty clearly establish actually a couple of things. And by the way, biblical scholars, including amongst Christians, agree that the Bible suggests that the earth is somewhere between 6,000 and 10,000 years old, and that Noah's flood in fact happened at some point in that period after. As well as there's a bunch. The Bible absolutely does describe the earth as a flat disk with a dome and a firmament and those things. So if you don't do mental gymnastics and you stick to the scholarship interpretation of what the authors most likely meant in those periods of time and not make up your special versions or do the dishonest apologetics, it is very clear that the Bible speaks to scientific subjects and gets those subjects terribly wrong.
Okay, so that means you're sure about this thing. Okay, if you're sure about it, so far you guys seem so sure that there's no God and you guys are very certain about it. It's just like I just called because I just wanted to see what you guys think about this verse, and you guys gave me you said that this thing is like okay. So this
Jimmy, can I ask
change your mind at all? Sure.
Can I ask you one last question before the call ends?
Yeah, no problem. Go ahead.
Did we change your mind? Do you not believe in God anymore? Did we fix it? Do we get you?
I would say to be honest, I would say that you guys are making sense, but I'm just too scared that there might be a hell, that there might be I'm leaning towards your side. I'm leaning towards your direction, but I'm just a little bit scared that there still might be a hell and stuff like that. So,
Fair enough, but you know what? I'm just gonna say it. The Book of Austin predicted this. I'm just gonna say it. Prophecy fulfilled.
With the Book of Austin, are you serious with that? Or are you just making that one up? That Book of Austin? Come on, man.
I'm Austin. No, Jimmy, what I was telling you with that example, I'm Austin, and I wrote that down. What I was trying to show you is that I can write down a prediction of something, especially if it's a thing that I regularly observe in my day-to-day life. Like, I regularly have conversations with people just like you, where they ask me questions about the Bible and about their beliefs, and I attempt to answer them, and their minds don't get changed at the end of the conversation. So I just wrote down a prediction based off of something that I regularly observe, and all I'm saying is, like, whoever wrote that verse, 1 Timothy chapter 4 verse 1, was doing the same thing. They were going, so we're going to write this book, and there are going to be people who are going to try to discredit it. So I will just write that down as a prophecy, so that when they do it, those people will go, whoa, the book said that they would do this. So I'm just saying, like, it's not that impressive because I just did it. Because I just did it to you. So it's not that impressive.
Yeah.
It's not that impressive, right? Like,
wow, how they know to do that back then? But how they know to do that back then? What be the motive to do that back then?
Because people were doing it back then.
Right. It wasn't.
People were doing
the motive, though.
It wasn't new.
What would be the motive? What would be the motive? What's the agenda behind them doing that?
People have always been fighting with each other over ideological differences, over faith differences, and over every time people have told a different story about, like, where rain comes from or what lightning is or what a tornado is, people have had arguments over it and, like, killed each other over it. This has been going on as long as, like, written history has been going on.
But Jimmy, let's say we don't know the motivation. You know that some people have that motivation because religions exist which you don't believe in. So presumably, if your religion is wrong, it will be a similar motivation to the other wrong religion people. I do have one last question for you that's a completely different topic. Sure. What do you think of the new logo? It's
I've not seen it. I've not seen the new logo, so I can't give an opinion on it. I've not seen it.
Well, it's on the screen, but yeah, go check it out later and just leave a comment with what you think about the new logo. So far, it has 100% approval rating. I hope you don't. I hope you don't break the streak.
All right. Take care. Enjoy your show. Have a great one.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Have a great day, Jimmy. Thanks for calling.
You too. All right. No problem. Bye.
I think I'm a prophet, dude.
I thought I was going to get you to chuckle while you were drinking water, but I think you saw it coming. I was trying to get you a little gurgle.
I don't know. Like, I think it's kind of crazy that I called that. I think it's crazy.
It's pretty great.
Like, how did I do that? That's crazy. How was I so ahead?
As 8 years into it now, I'm going to say there's probably about 15 different times where I've realized as an atheist YouTuber, it would only take a couple more steps for me to start a cult. And I always choose not to. And you might be seeing one of your own first steps right now. It's
everyone watching's like, wait a minute. That's crazy. He wrote it down and then it happened. Wait a minute.
God. Book of Austin. Book of Austin tells you what will be.
I just think it's so funny to, like, read a random verse like that and be like, see? Like, it's so vague too. It's just like, anyone who's doing anything to discredit this book is a demon. And if you do it, so anything you say against the book, it's like, see, the book said you would say that. It's like, yeah,
like, you actually took a greater chance though. Like, yours had some deductive reasoning in it. What would happen? You're like, based on right now, you believe it, but like technically there was a chance we would have talked him out of it. You at least took a shot. You took a chance.
Yeah.
These books don't take those chances. Like, yours is actually more impressive than the average Christian prophecy.
He could have proved me wrong. Like, he could have totally proved my, but then it would have been this whole, like, paradox of, like, oh no, now I'm not a prophet. And then, like, what does that mean? And I prefer to be a prophet. So
yeah. It wasn't it wasn't an unimpressive prophecy. Like, Jimmy will ask you about the logo at the end of the call. That would have been an unimpressive one. Kevin,
I should have said that.
Kevin in New York, I hope you have as good of a New York accent as our friend Jimmy, as well as about half of my family has. And rather than wait till the end of the call, I'm going to subvert expectations and ask you, Kevin, what do you think of the new logo?
I haven't seen it, Jimmy, so I can't comment on that as well.
It looks like a turtle head, and
sorry to disappoint.
One person thought it was the back of boots. So apparently, some people don't. Their interaction with negative space is such. Yeah. Anyway, that was a Margan, I think, thought it was the back of boots. Anyway, Kevin in New York, you want to talk about what you believe and why, which is all we want to know.
Yeah. Thanks for taking my call. Well, to get right to that, I believe that anyone who is interested in Christianity should take the teachings of Jesus to heart. Jesus being the actual leader of that religion, even though I don't think that there should be any official establishment of it anywhere. In fact, I would go so far as to say that Christianity, whether it be in establishment or ideals, it shouldn't be something that is defended by anyone. I don't really like to hear that. I know that's probably not something that you guys want to hear either, because you want to hear answers from people.
Well, it sounds like you're just calling to proselytize. You just want to call in and say, if you want to, please go believe in Jesus. And I have no use for that. And here's the thing. First of all, the Bible has a verse. I don't remember if it was out of Jesus's mouth, but says that actually you are required to be ready to defend it at all times. So the Bible would disagree with you. Bible also suggests that you interpret the words of Jesus using the Holy Spirit. And there are many people who will tell you that their interpretation of the Bible when using the Holy Spirit is that religion should be a part of it, that it should be organized, and that there should be a lot of people meeting together like that. And so these things that you are saying are a matter of Kevin's Christianity, which will be another addition to the versions that already exist. Maybe it's more consistent with another, but Kevin's Christianity suggests this, and this is the right version of Christianity. So Kevin, the temptation for me is twofold. I'm tempted to either ask you why your version of Christianity over any other, or to start with why believe there is a God in the first place. And I'm content with you picking, though I'm a little bit more leaning toward why believe in a God in the first place.
Well, why to believe in the God in the first place is simply my thought is that through the scriptures, not even the scriptures, but through Jesus Christ, we're shown how God has endured to try to show us a certain truth.
Okay, so let me explain to you what you've just done. If I say, why believe what I said, and then you say back because you told me to believe what you said, that would not be a satisfying answer. So when I say, why believe in God, and you say, because a book told me to believe in God and it's his book, that's not a satisfying answer.
Oh, yes, I understand that.
Can you give me a more satisfying answer?
Going back to, yes, but can I first go back to something you said just a moment ago? Because I have a question about that. You said that the Bible says that you're supposed to defend the Christian faith. Mm-hmm. Does it really say that, or does it say instead that you're supposed to have answers for when people ask you questions about it?
But in your hearts, honor Christ the Lord as holy, and always being prepared to make a defense to anyone who asks you for a reason for the hope that is in you, yet do it with gentleness and respect. I'm not sure what you think the difference is in those positions, because it is literally known as the Christian call to defense amongst Christians.
Oh, so it specifically says defense. Okay.
The phrase is make a defense, my friend.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. Well, and then the second part of what you had said, you said that people were supposed to interpret the scriptures through the Holy Spirit. I think there's a misunderstanding of that, because the idea was that the the knowledge of these things didn't come from any person, but it was from the Holy Spirit inspired into people.
So are you saying that you think that you should do a traditional fundamentalist reading of the Bible and just read the plain text and accept it as is with no introspection?
No, not at all.
Okay, so Kevin,
fact,
by what means then would you interpret the Bible if the Bible's already covered by the Holy Spirit by the writers? What means would you use?
That's a difficult question to answer, but through my research of these scriptures, it's coming from an angle of taking everything into consideration. I'm not going to get into that.
Actually, you just answered it and you didn't realize you answered it. You tried to answer it differently than the way you answered it. You said through my research and then some other stuff. Your interpretation has been influenced by other people's interpretation of it. You have read other people and you've gone, this is the one that makes the most sense to me. This is the one that jives well with me. It is a very subjective application of. So as you're sitting here and going, I don't think that people should be having organized religion. Well, that's because that's the version that you have liked the sound of, but it's not because you've read the Bible better than they have. They just liked the version of interpretations and what they've been told by other people better than the ones you've liked, right? That's how it's actually broken down. Now I beg you, if we can return to the actual question though, can you give me the compelling reason to believe in God?
Well, yeah, because I think that there are certain truths that can be apprehended from this that are not subjective at all. This is why
please elaborate.
Yeah, I won't go so as far as to say that the Bible doesn't have mistakes in it, but still, I think that there are still. I'm sorry.
Are you answering my question? I think you're answering a question you think is similar. Kevin, let's forget the Bible. Let's forget Jesus for a second. God, the existence of God. Would a person be able to ascertain an existence of God without the Bible? Do you feel God would still be evident whether the Bible exists or not?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, great. So we don't even need it. Excellent. What makes it obvious that God... Hang on. Let me just... I'm going to try and guide you to a better... What specifically would make a God obvious to you without the Bible or Jesus brought into it at all?
Simply by discussing and answering the question that human beings have always had: do we have a spirit? Do we have a soul?
Okay. And what about that question would
Right. That's not an answer to my question at all. So your answer is yes, they have a spirit and have a soul, because you said you would need to answer that question. So why is your answer yes, there is a spirit and a soul?
Well, this is what I mean by how truth can be apprehended that are not completely subjective. With working off of the assumption that every single person has a spirit or a soul, I don't.
Why would we work off that assumption?
I don't mean to make it.
Why would we work off? Why are we starting from that place?
Why presuppose?
I mean, it may sound like I'm trying to talk a little bit of philosophy with you guys, but I don't mean to make it seem like I'm trying to segue into anything. But it does get into other things like whether we have a free will or any body autonomy. The reason why I say that is
I don't believe we have free will either. So you believe we have free will and you believe we have a soul. So why is
no? That's not what I'm saying. No,
okay, you don't believe we have
that's not what I'm saying. Well, yeah. Now, let me get right to it. The specific thing that I'm talking about, how a truth
please
can
get
be
to your presuppositional script, it's going poorly so far.
Certain truth can be apprehended, even going back to these scriptures, which I'll try to avoid talking about.
You keep saying this thing, certain truths. You keep saying these certain truths that are not subjective. Could you just please get to what you are talking about? The question is, why believe in a God at all? Take away the Bible. What are these certain objective truths that you believe can be apprehended by a belief in God? Just make it simple.
All right. there was just one that I was trying to focus on, and that simple truth is that our bodies are not our own. It's simply the bodies that we receive from our mother and father. You know, when a person looks at themselves in the mirror, you can then tell that what you're looking at isn't the totality of what you are and what's going on in your mind. It's a hinting towards, yes, this is your spirit, this is your soul, and that there's no free will.
Jimmy just said you're making a suppositionalist argument, which is like you are just presupposing that these sort of experiences that you're having with identity and self point to the objective existence of a soul. That's not what objective means. Like you're assigning a word to the experience of looking in the mirror and going, like you're having thoughts that are like, like your body is not your own. We are all made of genetic material that is just one long line of sperm going into eggs. Like it is just like sperm and egg, sperm and egg, sperm and egg, going all the way back to when Homo sapiens first, like we are all linked to that direct lineage, and it's all the same genetic material. That's pretty fucking cool. I think that's awesome. But you're using that and going,
and like only my penis. Sure, maybe my girlfriend's. It's her.
But but then you're looking in the mirror and going, because you're having some kind of existential experience about identity and about what it means to be alive and what it means to be conscious. You're just assigning there must be a soul to it. What we're asking is why. Why is that the conclusion you come to about identity? What is it? What objectively is pointing you toward that conclusion?
Well, it's not only that, but I mean, think about it. When you experience your very vast array of emotions, whether it be what we call what's the word I'm looking for? Anything that we may call Kevin,
did you eat an edible before you called it the show?
Negative emotion. No, I'm sorry. I'm just a little bit nervous.
Kevin, I suspect you've never done an edible, actually, because I don't think a person who's done an edible would use this argument where you're basically trying to attach emotions to a soul and that greater depth to it. Because anybody who's done edibles knows fully well that the full depth of your emotional range can be induced entirely chemically and is a product of the brain. So I guess there's those silly people who think that eating edibles opens up your spirit. Kevin, you've not done much drugs, have you?
Well, no. Is that entirely true, Jimmy? Because I mean, the emotions seem to be having more to do with a reaction to our environment.
And sometimes.
Sometimes
music,
spiritual
movies,
texts, whether it be the Bible or not, are hinging on the idea that these emotions are actually spirits in themselves interacting with us.
I'll tell you something, Kevin. I grew up in the same church that Jimmy grew up in, and I grew up having this experience where I would go to church every single week, and if I really wanted it, if I really wanted to lean in and listen to the kind of the feeling in the room and attach to the music, I could have an emotional experience. I could have chills and a swelling in my heart and a warmth in my body, and I could cry sometimes and experience overwhelming emotion that way. And I would, but it wasn't until I was like in college, and exactly what Jimmy's saying, that like I was doing drugs with a bunch of my friends, and I had one of the most spiritual experiences I'd ever had in a setting that my church had told me the spirit would be gone from. My whole life they'd been telling me the only place I could have that experience was at church, that this church had a special energy to it, that there was a special monopoly on that feeling. And they said if I ever went somewhere where the spirit couldn't be, like a party where people were drinking alcohol or people were taking mushrooms or people were taking LSD or MDMA or smoking weed, I couldn't feel the spirit there. And then when I did have an experience where exactly what Jimmy said, I was exposed to the full range of my emotional spectrum and really had, these overwhelming emotional experiences where I'm crying and I'm having that swelling and that warmth in my heart and overwhelming feeling of love. And I'm just rolling balls on Molly.
Oh, yes, I understand.
You realize it's literally just chemical. It's just there's a physiological response that can be induced by tapping into different chemical sensors in the brain.
All right, Kevin, can I make an attempt?
I know sometimes that.
Can I try and flash steelman you here, Kevin?
Oh, okay.
Do you know what a steelman is? I'm just going to try to repeat you what I think is the position you're giving as strongly as I can. Okay? All right, Kevin, here's what I think if I was trying to be you, I would say, is your position put succinctly. If we begin with the assumption that the soul exists and God exists, and then think about the world and how the framework would fit within it, I believe that it makes a whole lot of sense and everything connects together so elegantly that in fact it justifies the belief that I had originally presupposed. Would that be essentially, Kevin, what you would say is correct?
It's not exactly accurate, I'd say.
What would you modify about
it? To get right to what I was trying to say,
hang on, Kevin. I wasn't doing it for Kevin, I wasn't doing that for no reason. What would you modify about the statement to make it more accurate?
All I would say is that I agree with the concept that God could be consciousness itself. The reason why I say that
Kevin, what question did I ask you a moment ago? I don't think you're listening to me, actually. Honestly, Kevin, I think you aren't listening because you're answering questions that almost seem like you're answering in a way where it sounds like you're kind of responding to what I just asked. But what I asked you specifically is how would you modify my steelman to make it more accurate? And you made a new point that you believe God is all consciousness.
Well, yeah, that's exactly it. The only point I'm trying to make in saying that is the only reason why I think that God could be consciousness is because, say, when a person stops breathing, the first thing that they lose is consciousness, while the brain and the heart still operates just for a little while.
Sir, I lose consciousness literally every night. But this is a very silly...
I'm sorry, I should have started with defining what I think God is. I didn't mean to jump around so much.
But you also have acknowledged...
I was listening and...
No, you weren't, Kevin. And you also talked about the Christian God. So the idea that you can, if you want to say that God exists within the consciousness, also as a part of it. But once again, you have completely ignored that I asked you for a modification of my statement for your steelman to make it more accurate and went, yeah, but I really still want to say this abstract bong hit theology sort of point, which people have been giving Matt credit for that phrase. That is my phrase. I'm happy to lend it to him, but stop giving Matt credit for the cool things I do. Anyway, it's you aren't adding anything meaningful to it to say that God exists within consciousness. And I swear to God, if one more caller sighs, I don't know what threat I was going to make. I'm going to delete the channel. You guys would love that shit.
Jimmy, I'm not trying to argue or anything. I don't want to even make it seem like my ideas are coming from some drug-induced imagination.
Adding to Christianity.
I never even wanted the conversation to go there.
Okay, great. Repeat to me what steelman I gave to you of your position, and then change it, modify it to actually represent a good steelman.
Well, you began by saying that exactly what I started to say myself, that our body is on our own and that God is a part of that.
I literally never said those words. This is my point, that you're not listening at all. You literally just said, I began to say, I never actually spoke to your point about our bodies are not our own, except for when Austin was talking about it. I made a joke that I'm pretty sure that my penis is only mine and my girlfriend's and that she maybe owns it. But that's the only time I've addressed it. My steelman of you the position I was trying to give you, so I will give it again and we'll see if you'll listen this time and modify it for me. This is what I think your position is. If I begin with the assumption that the soul exists and God exists, and then try to fit that into the rest of the world, it weaves in so elegantly that it appears to be accurate, and it makes the most sense that those pre-assumptions are in fact true, because it then fits the rest of my model of reality so succinctly. Now, if you will give that back to me, you can reword it, you can simplify it. I know it was a little bit long, in a more accurate way, or just tell me if that is accurate, we would have actually gone the direction that would have been useful for this conversation.
Well, I at first disagree with the very first thing that you said, with what you said, that I don't actually begin.
So modify it. So he's asking you. So modify
it.
Yes,
I know.
Yes.
So you're saying you don't agree that there's a soul?
That's not where I'm.
No. He said he doesn't actually agree that I begin with the assumption that there's a soul. He has forgotten that was actually the words he said earlier in this call. And just so you know, Kevin, if you go back and listen to this call again, you will hear yourself. It's right before I called you a presuppositionalist. You actually did say, if you start with the assumption that there is a soul, earlier in this call. So, but now go ahead and give me the modified version. You don't have to tell me what was wrong. You just give me a steelman summary of your position, and I'll be good.
A steelman summary of my position is just this: is that we can apprehend the truth that we are all souls in a body. And based off of that assumption, what we can then derive.
That's my bad. I was too broad, and I was too broad and didn't demand that you stick to the original position of, or the actual what we were talking about, because now you're trying to go back to a different category of it, not the simple. Because if you're trying to say that we can apprehend those truths without a presuppositionalist framework,
trying to stay on track. I'm sorry.
That would be absolutely, no, you're not on track. On track would be following what I'm saying. You actually just tried to switch your summary to something that demands presuppositionalist framework, which would actually be the thing you should have been stating, which is what I stated for your steelman, and are basically trying to go a step further than it to not acknowledge that my steelman of you was actually correct. How do you apprehend
I'm
those truths?
I'm trying to understand everything that you're saying, Jimmy, but I don't understand how you assume that I presuppose things. If I presuppose things, there would be no point in me looking into anything at all.
If you are apprehending the knowledge of souls existing because by believing they exist, the truth is revealed to you that they exist, that is by its very nature presuppositionalist.
I'll think about what you guys talked about. I really want you to understand that I am listening, and I'm trying to understand everything that you're saying. But
Kevin, usually it's much easier if you just go with like the simple like questioning thing. I regret that we've gotten into philosophy speak, because that was the direction that you wanted to take it. Philosophy speak, I think, is like the lamest shit. I think people get together and go, guys, prepare to watch me smell my own farts. I think that's what, and I think we could have done a much more simple, ironically, I'm going to say Socratic way of doing this, but that you wanted to go so abstract with it to avoid just being more straightforward and just say, I believe in Jesus because I have the feeling he exists, and nothing challenges that feeling as much as I feel good about the framework of that feeling. If you had just been honest about that, I think this would have been much, much simpler. Because all we were going to head to is what about other people with other beliefs that are contradictory to yours that use the same method to get to it? Even in presenting your steelman, if I were then to go, okay, great, I'm just going to flip it, and I presuppose there is no soul and there is no God, and I find the elegance of the weave much more compelling there. Now, how do we find out who is right? And we would have discussed the method of revealing truth. But we didn't get there because I don't even know. I just want to drill my own brain out because we got into philosophy speak, which truly, truly, I despise.
But this whole talk of God, Jesus, and etc., as it relates to myself, which I try not to be so subjective with things, is that I believe that Jesus has revealed who mankind truly is through his death
Great.
and resurrection.
How did he do that? How did Jesus reveal who mankind really is?
Well, he revealed it by taking on the likeness of us.
And how do we know he did that?
Through his. Well, I'm a Christian who has gone outside of the canon, and that answer is there outside of the canon. You know,
where?
More specifically in the Acts of John, where Jesus. I'm telling you right now. Okay, so
now we're back to the Bible. We're back to the Bible now, right?
This isn't the Bible, no.
Okay, so where outside of the canon?
Hey, I thought you just said Acts.
Yeah,
yes,
sounds like you said
Acts of John.
And where are you reading these that are not from the Bible?
In the
where can we find the Acts of John?
I don't know. It's a simple. Just look it up. You can find it easily. But anyway,
it's like a separate book. It's a separate book that's not the Bible. Yeah. It's called the Acts of John.
Austin, he answered, look it up. You'll find it easy. Look it up, Austin. Do his homework for him, Austin. Don't.
No, I've already looked into it.
Kevin, hang on, Kevin. I'm on your side. Austin, I hope you're not being so cynical to think that he just weaponized his ignorance and asked you to do work on his behalf for broad statements that he's making. I hope that you're not being cynical. I know you to be kind of cynical like that, Austin, and I hope you're not doing it.
No,
right
now. I can tell you what it says. I mean, I've already done the research.
The Acts of John is a 2nd or 3rd century work of unknown authorship combining elements of the apocryphal Acts and pious romance genres. It was labeled heretical by both Eusebius and Augustine and condemned at the Second Council of Nicaea in 787. Okay, so you're saying that this book is the book that helps us understand the Bible better?
No. More specifically, it's Jesus showing mankind who and what we really are.
Okay.
That's it. That's all.
All right. So,
in the Acts, because in the Acts of John, while Jesus is being crucified on the cross, he appeared to John, and showed this mystery to him that that's not actually him that's dying on the cross.
How can we know that the Acts of John is true?
I'm not prepared to answer that question.
Why? Wait. How did you figure out the Acts of John is true? Because you believe it's true. How did you figure it out?
I don't know.
Kevin,
I don't know. I'm not gonna go.
What?
I mean,
what is your favorite? Hang on, Kevin, please. Kevin.
This is not going to be.
What is your favorite side dish to pair with a beef main course? Like, let's say steak, a nice sirloin, medium rare. What would you pair with it? What would you pair with a medium rare sirloin?
Probably some mashed potatoes and gravy. And
probably, asparagus. Or do you want to commit to it?
I commit to it.
Cool. Thank you. I just wanted, before we got done with this call, to hear you to commit to one thing that was a straight answer. And I'm satisfied with that we did. But I think I can be known to talk a lot and use too many words to make a point. Kevin, I think I'd like to tell you that you have used so many words to make no points at all.
I will say this. I want to say this really quick, Kevin. So just on your point of, I mean, it was a good question that Jimmy asked you, is how do we know that the Acts of John is a real book? Like, how did you come to that thing? And he said, you can't say. But I just want to say, again, I don't know if you were listening to the show earlier, but I've been reading from this book called The Book of Austin that I'm actually currently authoring. And I wrote a new entry in the Book of Austin, and it says, Jesus is an adaptation of an ancient myth involving a savior born to a virgin mother that has been told in many different ways in many different cultures throughout human history. It is not meant to be taken literally. It is just a story. So from that book, from the research that I did in the book that I just wrote, that I just read to you, I know that Jesus wasn't actually even a real person that actually really existed, because it's there in a book. Do you see the problem with every time we ask you, how do you know that there's a soul? How do you know that there's a God? How do you know that God is consciousness? And you point to some book that you read, or some guy's words that were written down somewhere at some point in human history. We can't take that as objective evidence, empirical evidence, because you wouldn't accept the evidence I just presented to you, right, from the Book of Austin. Right? You'd say, well, that's just something you just wrote down. And that's the whole thing, Kevin, is it's a book is just something that somebody wrote down. Do you know how many books have been written in written history that we could go through and see different opinions on what consciousness is and what identity is and what existence is? I mean, it's innumerable, the amount of different opinions that have been written down about the nature of God, the nature of existence, the nature of consciousness. Why would the Acts of John be the book that officially explains what a soul is and why Jesus is the one true God and not Allah? Or, do you get where I'm going with this?
Yeah, and I'll definitely even check out what you said. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to it to check it out and everything. But shoot, I mean, everything's got to be considered, right? And
yeah, did you not know that?
No, everything doesn't have to be considered. Jesus Christ, Kevin, do you have more with it, Masa? I'm good.
Listen,
no, I'm good.
Go ahead. Final thought, Kevin, but you have 30 seconds to make it. Use them carefully.
No, it wasn't. I wasn't really gonna say much, really, but yeah, I'll go back and listen to what you guys had to say.
I bet you weren't.
All right, thanks, Kevin.
Okay.
Have a good one.
All right. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
All right. I wasn't going to say much, really. I bet, dude.
I don't know if you can say much. I do want to read another positive review that came in for our logos during that call. My cancer-ridden old dog can vomit up a better logo. This is truly disgusting. It's actively hurting my eyes. Whoever approved this hideous creation clearly never seen art. I like this one also during the show. You're so Sigma, duder. You totally owned the haters with this one. Ha ha lol. I don't actually know what it is to be Sigma. But...
Sigma's like above Alpha. Sigma's like next level.
Yeah. Is that from Skibbity Toilet?
Yeah, it's Skibbity Toilet, it's Brain Rot, it's Rizzler and Gyat and all that fun stuff.
Have you seen the Shoebop video? Shoebop, she-daddy doo bop, she-bobby doo bop with the headbutts?
No, unfortunately.
It's not a Skibbity Toilet. It's just a new weird thing that I really love.
Have you seen any of the Brain Rot versions of famous musicals, like Brain Rot Hamilton? Where he goes pardon me, are you group leader, sir? And he's like, I'm Turkish Quandale Dingle. I'm at your sir. I love that shit.
Okay, I like this one too. This is an awful logo an hour ago. Plain and simple. It looks like a logo for a neighborhood karate dojo. Well, you can't say it's an awful logo and then say it also looks exactly like the logo I would want it to look. A neighborhood karate dojo? You can't say it's awful and I nailed it at the same time. Don't contradict yourself. I mean, that's what I was going for. Let's see.
You should actually go full on and have it be two silhouettes that are in fighting stances, and just really go all the way in. This show is call in and fight us, and we will fight you.
I'm gonna give them names and make them kiss. That'll bug them. That'll bug the haters. Or be like, all right, just so you know, this is. I need really androgynous names because these actually are genderless characters. We'll go with Gray and
Jesse.
Yeah, Gray and Jesse. And now I'm killing them. I'm gonna scrap the logo and Gray and Jesse are dead. No, I
you should have
500 linemerch.com 500 with hashtag logogate. I'll get rid of it.
You should do a bad Photoshop where their lips like extend out, kind of like Simpsons lips when they kiss, and have them like their lips are like really long, and that's how they kiss.
And that's the line. The line is their lips.
That's the line. The line is their lips kissing.
Mm-hmm. We got more calls, people. Let's see what's going. Oh, thank you to people who are super chatting. We don't really read out super chats on the Sunday show, but y'all are great. And don't forget, you can go to linemerch.com. I'm gonna you can kind of do like cameos, and I'm gonna pick some random ones to respond to as people buy these. Has anybody bought it yet? Am I the sole buyer? That's okay if I'm the only one who ever buys the merch. But yeah, there's hats and stuff too. Bucket hats, which I understand you kids like. They're embroidered bucket hats. Who wants a bucket hat? Oh, I can't say
that. Look at that big old $100 super chat from.
Thank you so much,
Narcissa.
You're the shissa. I thought it would rhyme better. It sounds like I'm trying to speak in what's the like Yiddish. Narcissa sounds like Yiddish to me. Hey, Jesse Jerdax here. You are a hunk of a man. Glad to see you, Jesse. We got a lot of attractive.
You said you are the shissa, and I think shissa sounds like shiksa, which is a Yiddish word.
Yeah, that's gotta be it. That's gotta be it. My loved one wishes to assure everybody that while she, pursuant of the call before, owns my penis, I in turn own part of her body. It was very graphic. I feel weird saying it online. Anyway,
was it another word for cat, for kitty cat?
This was amongst the words that was used. Yes. She's just the best person I've ever met in my whole life. I just love her. Anyway, moving on. You guys will never meet her because I will not let what happened to my logo happen to my love. Just people are like, I know you didn't ask for feedback, but here's my negative review. But now I have. Go shit all over it. I bet most creative insult wins. Go enjoy it. Go have fun. All right, let's talk to Luther in Sweden. Luther in Sweden, you are on the line with Jimmy and Austin. How are you, Luther? Luther.
Well, trans people are on a W. They give you two choices.
What?
Damn. Well, trans people are on a W.
Yeah, I don't know what that
trans people are. What?
It's a soundboard person.
Okay.
They've been waiting for. So here's the deal with Luther. Luther isn't actually named Luther. Luther is somebody who probably lives in America and cannot get girls to talk to them, cannot get friends to stay in their life. Like they have this problem where they're like, oh my God, everybody else is the problem. My friends, I only have these shorts. Why am I so alone? Why am I so sad? And why am I not confident with, let's be clear, my penis? And so whoever Luther actually is, I don't know. They were a person pretending to call him from Sweden so that they could use the web caller because we require phone numbers from American callers. And just really like, they're just lonely. It's kind of just one of those things where it's like, this is,
and they
this
hung
is
on. I mean, think about it. Luther's been hanging on for 2 hours to do that, to like get on the show and push the button, like, which is just like, oh God.
But I had girls to talk to. Like, what was he gonna do with that time? Just to be ready with a soundboard. By the way, of a sound bit that's not very clear. I heard trans people are kind of W,
which is like good. Like trans people are like kind of I'm like, I don't. Yeah.
Thank you, Luther. Trans rights are human rights.
All right, thanks, Luther.
Appreciate you here to make.
All right, thanks, Luther. I hope that was worth waiting in line for that. That was fun.
Just like be yourself, and you'll be so much happier. Leave whatever religion you're associating with, even if it's just like the weird manosphere. Admit you want to kiss boys. Like, go kiss boys. It's fucking so fun. I kiss boys. Not every opportunity I have, but when I kiss boys, I have a good time. It's fun to kiss boys.
Gross. That's gay. You know? And I look.
Preferably. I hate it when I have I hate when I kiss a guy and it's totally heterosexual. It's the fucking worst. Ugh.
They're not good at it. They're not committed to it. They act all weird about it, and it's like, fucking kiss me. Don't be weird about it.
It's like if we're homies, slip tongue, you know?
Yeah, hook me up. Give me your best shot. If my bro is gonna kiss me, give me your best shot. Is all I ask. Like, don't fucking like give me some weird, tight-lipped, insecure kiss. Kiss me.
Take the air out of my lungs. I want to have to sit down after it, bud.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's talk to. We've got other theist callers, but we have an atheist caller who's been waiting for a while, so we'll go ahead and get David in here. David in Arizona. Trans people are pretty W, huh? What do you think of the new logo? Hey, David in Arizona, can you hear me? David in Arizona.
David.
Hi, thank you for taking my call.
Hello, David. You are very loud. If you'd back away from your phone a little bit, I'd love that. I'd be very fond of it.
Okay, how is that?
We're great.
Perfect.
Hey, what do you think of the new logo, David?
Unfortunately, I have not seen it. I'm sorry. I will get to it.
You'll love it. You'll love it, though, is the thing. There's also other graphic plans for this. So if people think I'm going to scrap it with all the stuff I've planned for it, they are wrong. But now it's fun because we know, like, a lot of people know that other people hate it. And now to wear it ironically will be hilarious. So people go to linemerch.com and get you some. All right, go ahead. What you up to, David?
All right. So I'm a regular member at this gym, and then there's this religious guy who he's been trying to convert me for like the last few weeks. It's kind of funny. By the way, I've told him about the line, and I said, why don't you call those guys? You'll have more fun. You'll have the opportunity to reach across thousands of people. And he said, no, I don't want to do that. I just want to stick to you or like one individual at a time. So anyways, the first time he approached me, he asked me, let me ask you this, David. Have you ever lied? Well, then, of course, I said yes. And then he asked me, what does that make you? And then I wasn't putting too much thought into it. I'm at the gym, so I told him I'm a liar.
David, hang on, David. Is this a joke? Is this going to end with you fuck one goat?
No.
Okay, I thought you were setting up a joke and wasting our time. Go ahead then. Okay, so if you tell a lie,
go
ahead.
So he asked me if I was familiar with the 10 Commandments, and then I told him I don't know him by heart. But then he started asking me, "Are you a liar?" He asked me, "Have you ever stole something?" And I said, "Yeah." And then he said, "What does that make you a thief?" And you see where this is going, right? Like he just wants to take me this parade of me admitting that there are all these horrible things with me. And so I told him, well, first you have to prove to me that the Bible is true. And he wasn't giving me any sound argument and whatnot. But then, so now this is where the main reason why I called you guys.
Back away from the mic a little bit.
I want to have a backup. I want to have a strong argument next time I see him because I know he's going to ask me about the things we talked. And so I was thinking if a good rejection was the following. I'm going to tell them I reject the fact that I'm a liar because at one point I said a liar. Because at one point I said a lie. So the analogy I was going to use is the following. In my entire life, I've only been drunk 3 times. Does that mean that I'm an alcoholic? Does that mean that I am a drunk? The answer is no, right? So that's what I'm gonna tell him to reject his whole because you lied at one point, you're a liar.
David,
does that seem like a good argument or any suggestions you wanna?
Yeah, I wouldn't even try and engage with it. I would go back to what you were already doing, which is like, okay, let's say the premise of what your shit is right. That if you tell a lie, you're always a liar. You whatever. Let's say all of that is true. Why is your God the one I need to answer to for it? How do I know your God exists versus all the many people who are just as confident as you are? Why your God over their God? I would not be worrying remotely about trying to engage his silly moral grandstanding thing that's probably going to come down to, the same dumb shit you hear about morality from religious people. Well, in your worldview as an atheist, why is it even wrong to lie or whatever shitty thing they're going to try to take?
I do. I mean, I think that I like the reasoning that you're going with, David, that you're like, oh, you're trying to call me a liar but I think that the point is it's ridiculous for a person to be like, have you ever told a lie? It's like, do you know a person who hasn't? Have you ever met a person who has not told a lie in their life? That's a ridiculous question to ask in the first place. So he's trying to, get you to admit that you're a person with, deficient morality, and you're trying to come up with a method of kind of flipping that back on him. I like Jimmy's response, which is like, yeah, sure, I'm a liar. You're a liar. Everyone's a liar. Why is your version of theology of God and the holy book and whatever you call it, why is that the version that gets to dictate, what my process of, redemption or repentance should be? Why am I accountable to your God and not someone else's God? Why does the fact that I have told a lie prove the existence of a God at all? Yeah.
Yeah, and I actually did ask him that very same thing, and then he just came back to me with, he wanted me to read some verses of the Bible that I think he said Ephesians something, and I'm just not going to buy into it. But anyways, I figured I called in and to see if I know Jimmy told me I wouldn't even engage, but if I do, I just want to pretty much let him know that I reject his whole stance of because I lied at one point. That doesn't mean
he probably
the entirety of my character.
The reason why I'm not going to sit here and go, yeah, do that. That's going to nail him to the wall. Is of course that's a common that's a common response to it. He's prepared for it. I don't know what his response is going to be, but of course he wouldn't have asked that question if he's not prepared for. No, I don't think of liar as a person who lies one time or sometimes, but it doesn't define like. Why go into a thing that's already a trap and just be like, yeah, but I'm going to beat the trap. You're like the guy who's like, look, I know, but I'm going to the casino because I have a system. Don't go to the casino. Go play a man's game, Monopoly.
All right. Well, I'll try to convince him to call you guys again because I think that'll be more fun. But
sounds good, David.
Anyways, that's all I had. I appreciate you guys' time. Thank you.
All right, cool.
All right, thanks, man.
Yeah, I have no idea why the why the screener has put this person through because this is not remotely on topic, but I can't resist but take it. Helios in Serbia wants to tell me his opinion of the logo.
Oh, you were talking about it the entire time. What do you mean it's not related?
No, yeah, but it's not the prompt to the callers. Yeah, but I'll ask you anyway. Fine. Helios. The Sunday show is about, and I've already told people where they can go and give their feedback. I've already told people where they can go give their feedback, and I promise you, Helios, the amount of concern I will give to your opinion will be equal to what you say now versus if you had just said it in a comment. Anyway, so you love what's your 3 favorite things about the logo?
That it's 2 colors. And that is the only good thing I can say about it.
Oh, okay.
What's bad about it?
Helios loves the logo, everybody, because of the 2 colors, just so you know.
It is.
By the way, Helios, the swastika is also only like 2 colors. Helios, why do you like the swastika? Why do you like swastikas? I'm just gonna be a dick about it. Well, you said you like logos that are 2 colors. So Helios, how come you like swastikas? Swastikas are 2 colors.
It was 3 colors.
You would know. You love
that's white and black.
Okay. Anyway, Helios, go ahead. What fucking thing do you want to say about the logo?
It feels like a bad modernization of bad logos I see all the time in my neighborhood.
Oh, yeah. Your neighborhood? You're just walking around the neighborhood. You're like, there's a logo, there's a logo, there's a logo, there's a logo. Helios, I have to tell you this from the bottom of my heart. I don't care how you feel about the logo.
That is A-okay.
What's your second favorite thing about the logo?
I'm not sure you want me or anyone to say.
How are your logo making skills?
Bad, but somehow better than that.
Oh yeah, where can I see them?
I don't have an Etsy store or whatever for things I don't feel confident about.
Can you laser etch some things? All right. Well, thanks for calling, Helios. Thank you for the thank you for the support. Please stop supporting swastikas. Appreciate you, buddy.
That's why I said at the beginning of the show, like I'll respond to people sometimes. I'll just go, "You have 6 subscribers," and it's not a thing to be like, "Oh, that's the value of you." It's like if you've never made a video before, if you've never edited a video, if you've never written a video, it's weird to write in and be like, "Here's how to make better content." It's like,
I mean, look. I don't even need you to. You don't have to defend that it's good. If you don't like it, you can say you don't like it. I don't mind if people don't like it. I also don't care if they don't like it. And this is the problem that I have is people being offended that they like a lot of the messages are like in insult form. By the way, I worked as a type of professional artist before I was a YouTuber. And so not only do I know professionally how to receive constructive criticism, I know how to give it. And one of the things you learn is like when you're reading them, there are certain patterns you can recognize that this person is just wanting to be kind of a douche. And so if a message seems to be more interested in sounding insulting than constructive, you just go, all right. But there's no doubt there are lots of people who don't like it, and some of them are very constructive. What I think is funny is that in the same way they don't care about how they are speaking about it, I don't care about their opinion. And they're very upset about that. They're very, very upset that I don't care. And by the way, I don't even care if it turns out that this is a bad logo. I just don't think it is. I like it. And it's for me. It's not for you.
This is what I said at the beginning where I'm like, I think I'm seeing different things because I do have, like, I have an eye for like cinematography and color grading and things like that. I've never really given a shit about logos. I just like, I've never, so when people are like noticing like a thing like that, there are people that are, and I'm just like, I don't really care. Like if it's a phone, it's a phone. I don't give a shit. If it's 2 faces looking at each other, I don't give a shit. Like if I just don't care. Like it's not that but I guess there are certain people who like, I don't know. Like I just look at famous logos and famous companies and I'm like, does Apple have a good logo because it's an apple, or is it just an apple with a little semicircle kind of cut out of it? It's the cleanest bite anyone's ever. What, I don't know. Like and I don't care. Like I know what it is. And
guys, actually, it was upside down the whole time. This is the right way to view it. Now, do you all see the genius of the logo?
Oh,
this is
okay.
Actually, uterus, guys, it's clearly an upside down uterus.
Yeah.
This is this is endometriosis, and this is the bottom of an IUD. Guys, if you would have turned it upside down, you would have realized it's a very feminist logo. So we got people calling in defending swastikas.
Nice.
It's fair though. I think somebody pointed out Jimmy's talking a lot about it for someone who doesn't care. That's fair. That's fair enough. Clearly I care about something. I'm mostly just enjoying it. I'm not kidding. Like I was sitting laughing to the point that I called my girlfriend. I was like, please pull up the comments and read these. And she just started laughing too. There is something fun about how invested emotionally people will get into really dumb shit, because at the end of the day, it actually doesn't even matter if this is good or not. The thing is people are like, go back to the drawing board. Don't do it. We're going to change up stuff. And even if you convince me that this is bad, I'm not going to put either the amount of work or the money into replacing it. And I'm not going back to the old one because I can't do that.
It kind of has the energy of that Ryan Gosling SNL sketch where he's really upset about the font, about the font on the Avatar poster being papyrus. and how he's he's like losing his mind. He's like, the guy just picked Papyrus for like the highest grossing film of all time. And he just went to the drop down, highlighted the text, went to the drop down menu and just clicked Papyrus, and it's like, that's insane. And it's like, yeah, like, I just think it's funny that then those people do exist that like they get very, very legitimately mad about something that is so inconsequential.
There was somebody who was going off about like how horrible the logo is and how bad of a graphic designer I am, and then said, go back to the old one, which I also made. So you're going to have to figure out.
Yeah, whether you suck or whether, I'm a big college football fan, and like a big and it's so funny too, because like anytime a team will do like a rebrand on their jerseys or something, the division in the fandom, like there'll be people who are like, these are the ugliest helmets I've ever seen in my life. Who designed these? And there'll be some people like, I don't know, I kind of like these helmets, and I just look at it, I'm like, who cares? Who cares? Yep. Like it
is funny too, though. I've noticed this with other stuff too. The YouTube comments are always the place, because I've put it several places, and in fact, I wouldn't even say that this is the place that the most people have seen it. Well, maybe as of today, especially giving attention to it. And it was positive in virtually every other space, but the YouTube community post thing, which is like, it's fine. I don't give a fuck. The other spaces are a little bit more people who know me and follow me, and that's all good. So maybe they just were all trying to simp for me. I if that's still a word people use, it is what it is. Actually, real quick, Morgan, can you check my white balance? Just let me know when you have.
Done.
All right, cool. Howard in the UK. Yeah, so go ahead and I'll go ahead and mute it. Once again, the person calling in to in this scenario, I think trying to put. Now, here's the beautiful thing. By the way, you can fix my white balance now, Morgan. I arranged it so that only you and I could hear it, and the audience didn't hear it, because I already kind of knew that's what that was going to be. So after all of that work you got into trying to get back on, because again, you aren't spending this time like talking to girls or having friends, no one even heard it, buddy. So have fun with that. Anyway, back on to
what an interesting way to spend time. What an interesting way. It's fascinating.
Maybe it's like an excitement where it's like, haha, Jimmy pays 3 cents a minute for me. Maybe it's that.
Yeah.
The call system, like I'm gonna go and occupy a slot and get him charged 3 cents a minute. Bill in Texas, you are on the line with Jimmy and Austin. You are spiritual, and you think you have better evidence for the creation of the universe. Bill, did I say Ben? I'm sorry. Bill in Texas.
Bill, it doesn't. Here's the deal, guys. I really feel for you. I do not know why Christians can just go with the same tired arguments. They're better arguments for God behind the universe. We just had the guy that discovered the Higgs boson on, and what he mentioned was the strong nuclear force. And you have these laws, they don't exist at the initial singularity. The gravitational comes along, electromagnetism. Are you familiar with the strong nuclear force?
I mean, who isn't? But also, I am familiar with the fact that a guy didn't, unless you're describing that you had Peter Higgs on, which would be amazing, because I think that would mean you resurrected somebody. No guy discovered the Higgs boson. A large team of people confirmed the existence of the Higgs boson using the Large Hadron Collider at CERN.
My bad. You're absolutely right. He along with 4,000. My bad.
Great. So
anyway. What's bothering me is I'm kind of having a crisis of faith here. What bothers me is how the electromagnetic force, I can kind of see that. You have a positive and negative, things attract each other and so forth. Gravity, masses interact. But the strong nuclear force occurs at the atomic level. So obviously 380,000 years after the Big Bang, you have atoms form. So why would you have this force that is keeping the protons and neutrons and the quarks within the protons and neutrons together. Do you have a thought on that? How that might have come about by chance?
I do. You can go first if you want. Yeah.
What I'm saying, it just is.
No, hang on. No, Bill. I was saying Austin could go first, so it sounded like he was gearing up. So go ahead.
Oh no, I'm good.
Okay. All right. Cool. Here's my answer to why would there be a nuclear force holding these things together, and my answer would very simply be, I don't fucking know, but that doesn't mean I should believe that there's a God. Like, why
that
is
was
there
my
lightning
answer.
from the sky? I actually do know that specific one, though there are actually elements of lightning and that we still haven't discovered. But I don't sit there and go, oh my God, what a gap. Therefore, oh my God, fill my gap. I do like hearing that phrase, but I don't ever say it myself. Moving on from what was a really poor attempt at a dirty joke, you are just describing, Bill, a new God of the gaps, and I don't even know whether or not that's an answer like a question that is unanswered. It's just a question I don't have the answer to. I have no idea if that one has come along. But why, Bill, if you've been some type of atheist, but it says here you're spiritual, and you're saying you're having a crisis of faith, I guess, towards spirituality, presumably, if you had been an atheist for a good reason, you have heard of the God of the gaps. Why would you stop in resisting the temptation of the God of the gaps because you met the gap you liked?
Oh, not necessarily that I liked. What started this off? A Christian gave a talk at an atheist group we were in, and he mentioned the fine structure constant, which is 1 over 137. Richard Feynman, one of the great physicists, said every physicist should put this on their blackboard and wear it. The reason being that if it's 4% off, then stronger or weaker, you do not get chemistry. You do not get carbon and oxygen.
Right. So we wouldn't exist. This is literally just the fine-tuning argument now. So now we're getting to another one that's like a silly, so easy to debunk if you've ever just spent, like, this is like the beginner course. You watched your first Christopher Hitchens debate. You should have these things covered. Yeah, the universe exists, and it wouldn't exist if it didn't exist. Perhaps couldn't exist, except for the way that it does exist. But if it didn't exist, we would never observe it. So, like, yeah, it definitely exists because we're here to observe that it does exist. And I'm not worried that because of the low odds, you know that things with incredibly low odds happen every single day. It's just a matter of that they happened.
Yeah, I was just going to say really quick too that my answer, like, I want to clarify that the reason I initially said, oh no, I'm good, what is it, because I was like, there's no way I can contend with what Bill's bringing to the table here. It's just that it is interesting that you started off the call by being like, oh man, I'm sorry that, like, man, these Christians call in and they don't have good arguments for you guys. But then you just started in on this stuff that's like, it's like we hear, I've only hosted this show like 7 times, like in the last few years, something like that. And I hear this at least once an episode that I do, where someone calls in with the fine-tuning argument of like, hey, look at this thing that if it was just a fraction of a hair off, it wouldn't exist this way. What do you make of that? And I just go, sure is crazy, right? Like, isn't it crazy? The physical laws of the universe are wild. Like, gravity's a wild force, and the nature of what moves celestial objects through space is crazy. And dark matter is crazy, and black holes are crazy. But when you say, like, what do you make of all those things? A lot of my answer is like, I don't know. I'm not an astrophysicist. I don't know. I don't have all the information on all that stuff. No human actually has all the information on any of that stuff, but it certainly isn't a compelling argument for the existence of a creator or a designer to me. I don't just look at it and go, wow, that's so cool. That must have been made by someone. That is one potential hypothesis of how it all came into being. There's no reason why that should be the leading hypothesis outside of just, wouldn't that be neat? Because simulation theory is just as interesting, and that also implies a creator, but maybe not a benevolent creator or an omnipotent creator, just a creator like us who's just like maybe it's an artificial intelligence that's just generating universes on universes on universes with no, moral reason or ethical reason to do it. There's no, the way that the coding works is that it holds quarks together like that with that strong nuclear force. And that's why that happens. I don't know, but I definitely don't think that the answer is that some magic guy made it that way. That seems like one of the less likely answers, if that makes sense.
Bill,
That makes perfect sense.
I don't mean this question condescendingly, or probably the direction you think I'm going to take it, but are you a quantum physicist?
No, but let me explain.
Hang on, Bill. Hang on. Don't try and jump ahead.
No.
I wasn't asking that question just to highlight it. Okay. No. Are you a physicist in any way? Do you work in this, or are you a scientist in any way? Okay.
I know. Just
to the best of your knowledge, did the discovery of the Higgs boson result in physicists in mass converting to theism?
Oh, of course not.
So, Bill, if it didn't cause them to convert, the people who presumably understand it much better than we do, why would it cause you to convert?
Well, first of all, I haven't converted. I'm in a crisis. But let me explain. The strong nuclear force, if it was 2% strong, you would only get hydrogen. Only hydrogen. Forget all the rest.
Bill, the reason I'm interrupting is this does not matter at all to the question at all. What the actual function of it is. The more exciting things you tell me we don't have an explanation for, it doesn't then create it less, make it less of a god of the gap. Like, okay, listen, but this gap is really cool. My question for you is, if it doesn't cause a faith crisis amongst the people who understand it the best, why would you trust your own lay interpretation of those things and feel justified in a faith crisis for yourself?
Well, let me tell you, people, a really interesting book, The Fortunate Universe. And the people that wrote this book, two authors wrote it, one an atheist and one a Christian. So we had them on our Atheist Christian Book Club, and that's what has caused this book, specifically The Fortunate Universe, has caused this whole doubt thing going. And the reason being is that even the atheists admitted that these things like the expansion rate of the universe, if it goes too fast, you don't get any planets or galaxies formed. If it goes too slow, you just get a big crunch. And even he admitted in the book that, yes, these fine-tuned parameters and constants are very troublesome. But he, articulated...
It's not troublesome.
As an atheist...
It's not troublesome. It's cool. It's cool. Yeah. It's cool. It's neat. It's like I love the double slit. I love the double slit experiment. Like, I love that, like, at some point people were like, hey, did you know that these light particles, these light photons act differently if we're looking at them than if we're not? What the hell does that mean? I love it. I love that, like, we look at stuff like that and go, like, I don't really, and I love it. But, like, I don't just go, must be a magic guy. Must be secret magic guy that made it that, like...
Absolutely not.
Bill, my problem actually with what you said, though, has more to do with if he says cats are better than dogs, as an atheist, am I meant to defend his challenge, his wrong opinion that cats are better than dogs?
No, of course not. No.
Then why the fuck would I have cared that even he, as an atheist, had to admit, I don't find it a problem that there are gaps, because the gaps tend to close. And I know that I will get to see some gaps close in my lifetime, and there'll be others I probably don't get to. I feel very fortunate to live in a world that has spent the last at least couple hundred years closing the gaps more rapidly than all of human history prior to that. And I sit there and I go, people used to think the mystery about lightning was a pretty good reason to believe there was a God. And we know all the reasons that was dumb. So I'm not going to sit here and go, because another atheist was compelled by the gap to go like, well, you got me there, that I feel like you got me there. Okay, Bill, there's a gap. I'd like to fill it. Also the philosophy and science ones, but the gap is there. And I hope it gets filled, but it's not going to make me believe in a God until it does.
I debated Christians at churches and seminaries, and you've heard the name Sean Carroll, right?
Yes.
Well, even he said the mass energy density of the universe had to be precise to 10 to the 120th. So I can just go blow these numbers off, like the gravitational constant times 10 to 10 to the 40th. The mass of the electron has to be, but it just is a cumulative case, and it's impacting my faith in atheism, to be honest with you.
But why?
First of all,
why though? Who cares? Why?
Faith in atheism is one of the dumbest phrases I've ever heard.
I know. Okay, that was stupid. Okay, my belief. How would I say that? I'm an atheist. I have
your lack of
is that okay?
Your lack of belief in a creator, in an intelligent creator, is being challenged. Your lack of faith. You're being tempted to have faith in an intelligent creator because of these really, really fine-tuned physical laws of the universe. And the question is you can, as many of them as you rattle off, the question remains like, why does your brain automatically go, maybe a guy did it, maybe a magic guy did it? Why?
Bill, here's what I'm going to tell you. I kind of know why. It's because gaps are uncomfortable. I don't know is uncomfortable. And the answer, a guy did it, as put so elegantly by my friend here, eloquently even, is easy. Or at least it seems that way. It seems like if I can just take that and go, there's a dude and he's making all of that happen. That's like one sentence to answer the biggest mysteries of the universe. And what you don't realize, Bill, you would then have more work to do because you go, I will explain the nature of this thing with a single word, a sentence unto itself. And then I'm going to go, great, Bill. Now explain the nature of that fucker. And it's way more complex and complicated to go, well, this thing that I'm demanding that you logically appeal to me for things that we don't yet have answered, and I need an answer now and not later, that makes me uncomfortable. But somehow I'm not uncomfortable saying, well, God's unexplainable. His nature, it's outside of explanation. That's the whole idea for a God. Like, Bill, I would rather sit with, I don't know the answer to that, but I hope we will one day. And in the meantime, I'll just sit with that, then go, I'm going to give it to an explanation that literally is something that a person who did not have an understanding of poop should not be in the same place that you eat, that you shouldn't put mud on wounds. What other stupid things did people who had the same answer to this thousands of years ago believe in? You're going with like, yeah, but that simple explanation that the people who didn't understand they should wash their hands between giving birth to things. It worked so well for them, and it's just going to work so well for me now with the new gaps. I think you and I want to be on different teams.
Well, let me explain. Michael Strauss is the name. He teaches at the University of Oklahoma.
I swear to God, if you mention another person to try and impress us with this impressive person has this belief, I don't care about. You're compounding your God of the gaps with your like kind of not. It's more like an appeal to authority. That's not quite a full argument. I don't care.
I understand, but wait a minute. You just talked about how problematic the Old and New Testament is. I couldn't agree more. And what I
didn't even mention the Old and New Testament.
Okay, well, anyway, here's my problem: is you got a guy with 4,000 other people that discovered the Higgs boson, who's a bright guy out there. In his book, he said Moses wrote Genesis. And I said, nobody believes that. He and J, the priestly author of the 6th century BC, and the J writer, Yahweh's writer of the 1000 BC, it was a blended narrative. One wrote, Peter, I think, wrote Genesis 1, J wrote businesses too. So here's what's called the layman's dilemma. I, being a layman, are getting all these numbers thrown at me, just like you guys. I'm in the same place you are. And this guy doesn't even know the most basic things about theology. So, you know, part of me says, well, I can't trust you on that. Can I trust you on these numbers?
No, you cannot trust him on those numbers. Do not trust any individual. Science, as a method and as a practice, has methods of verification. And if just he says, with any sort of citation of his religious beliefs, especially in tow, do not trust it. If it's important to your life to know the specifics about the Higgs boson, you go and you get all of the research you can and consume as many of the authors of all the papers surrounding it, and do not isolate yourself to the one guy, because trusting a human, a single individual, would be fucking stupid. And you can acknowledge that very intelligent people at one things are fucking idiots. One of the world's most renowned neuroscientist who separated conjoined twins at the head literally believes in a young earth, and that Joseph stored the grain in the pyramids and whatever other dumb things Ben Carson believes in. So people are imperfect even when they have specialties. Do not trust people. But you literally, I just said the thing about if you just like cite another, what has changed? Bill, how will my response, could it conceivably change to what you just said, other than you are just compounding your gaps and have not yet presented a good reason to believe in a God? Because your God is an injection. It's not actually an explanation. It's an injection of a fake explanation. It doesn't actually explain anything, because you can't then explain the nature of the God. It's just a feel-good one word to go, okay, at least the question has a blank filled in. And so if with your friend, the Higgs boson guy, if he says, yes, this is how the Higgs boson goes, and that's all you could do, and you couldn't find out any more, I would say definitely don't trust that. But somehow you've come up with, I can just throw in God, and with no further explanation or research behind what that even fucking means, accept it. That's crazy talk to me, Bill. I don't understand, and please refrain from mentioning some other scientist you like in your response now.
No, I'm with you guys 100%. And I'm still an atheist. I'm just saying I'm having, by the way, my quote, or what I always say is live with potential. So here's people that know much more than I'll ever know about physics and quantum and all that. And I'm just, you see what I'm saying? I'm on the defensive, or I'm
okay, Bill.
It's not an equal fight.
I want to wrap this up because we're getting close to the end of the show. So I've got my final words for you, and I'll give Austin the final words for you. The reason you should not do it, you should not believe in God as a result of this, is because those questions that you want to be answered, you hope nobody who could answer those will do what you're doing. Anyone who could answer, why does that force exist? Do you hope that they decide that gap, I'm not going to explore it, so I'll just throw God in there because it's comfortable? No, you want whoever could answer that question potentially to not take up that. And so if there is a belief that you would want anybody else not to hold, you shouldn't hold it yourself. That is simply it. Austin, please.
Well, thanks. I appreciate your insight. Yeah.
I get it. I think that you're coming at this. I think you're coming at this genuinely, Bill, that you're just like, man, a lot of people are testing me with a lot of information that I wasn't aware of and throwing these interesting stats and figures at me. I get it. I understand it. It's just nothing new in terms of like arguments that we see all the time where people just go, hey, did you know about this crazy thing? Did you know about that if this was a fraction of a degree off, that this wouldn't function this way and everything would fall into chaos? What does that mean? And it's like, I don't know, and I don't care. And I think that there's no logical reason why you need to then go God. And what Jimmy said, it's an injection. Like, it's a thing that like you're using to just the not knowing is uncomfortable. But you even said yourself that your line is live with the discomfort, yes. Live with the not knowing. Yeah. So just keep on doing that. You know what to do. Keep on doing that.
Let's see, when I speak at churches, they want to know, where are you? Atheist or Christian or theist, whatever. So, and I know the incredulity of the argument. I don't want to make that mistake. As atheists, I know mistakes in the God of the gaps. You guys are 100% right. And I know if I was in a silicon universe, that's one step below carbon on the, I'd be going, oh my God, silicon is so great. Isn't this just the perfect use? So I'm familiar with the puddle and all that stuff. So guys, I mean, I speak at church. I know what's your biggest problem? My biggest problem is fine tuning. My opponent, the Christian, his biggest problem was the problem of evil. So there's no easy answers here, and I'm just going to have to live with the
I don't find the problem of evil remotely challenging. When you say no easy answers here, it's not remotely challenging to me. But Bill, what's your opinion of the logo?
The logo?
The new logo.
To be honest, I haven't seen it, but I'm sure it's going to be great.
It's the best. Thank you. Thank you, Bill.
I have faith in you guys. I really do, and I really enjoy your show, and I just feel very, very fortunate, a fortunate universe, to be on your show, and I've enjoyed talking.
I hope in your next conversation you're forced to say, even Jimmy Snow and even Austin Archer. You say a few sentences that begin with that. Thanks, Bill. Have a good one.
Oh, absolutely.
Thanks, Bill.
You guys are great.
It was nice chatting with you. You're a nice guy. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
I feel like you were assuring him because I come off as such an autistic dick. You're like, I don't want him to walk away thinking we hated him.
No, he's being but it's so funny to start the conversation by being like, you guys don't get very good arguments, but I'm going to bring something to you. And then it's like, it's just stuff that it's like, of course. Yeah. The fine tuning stuff, and it's like, there's just I talk about this all the time on my own shows and like on my own podcast. Like I talk about the fact that I have been coming and guest hosting over here, and I'm like, it's wild how on a show like this, that's on a channel like this that's existed for 8 years, but then there's other shows that have existed for longer. These call-in shows that are every single day people are calling in, and the range of arguments that we get it's just so narrow. Like one thing that I've said is I never sit down in this chair for a stream worried that today's the day that someone's going to bring an argument to me that I've never heard before or that I don't know how to answer. I'm not saying that it can't happen. I'm just saying it's never even come close. Like every time I sit down in the chair, I'm like, it's going to be one of three things. They're going to say because the Bible, or they're going to say they're going to try to do some appeal to like science and talk about fine tuning and talk about how things were or they're going to, do some kind of thing where they try to debunk evolution by misunderstanding what abiogenesis is or something like that. And they're going to try to like tangle with Forrest, who's an evolutionary biologist on like, and they're going to punch above their weight and try, Yeah. And it's like always that, and it's never not that. And so I just am like, I'm not worried whenever I sit down in this chair to do one of these streams that somebody's going to come. And it's crazy that people keep calling in and that they're like, I got it. I got the one. They haven't heard. And it's like, and also how many people call in and go, I listen to the show every week. I love this show. I'm a big fan. And I'm like, so then you think in all the episodes you've listened to, you've never heard someone say the thing that you're about to say? And I don't know. So I guess it's good that they think that, because, we wouldn't be able to do this if they didn't, but
pay rent,
but it, it blows my mind.
I'd find someone to argue with still.
Yeah.
Okay. What the fuck? Why are there positive people in the more recent comments? Oh, okay, wait. Go fuck yourself, Jimmy. This is so awful that I wish I didn't even have the gift of sight. Unsubbing, blocking, reporting. So, okay, that one's a joke. Damn, I was hoping for a little better. But thank you, people who... look, people, I already told you, if you're invested enough, all it takes is 500 of you. Spend $20 and it'll be gone. And by the way, that's the shirts that we're doing like really close to cost. So we're not going to make like, I'm losing money in that deal. That's not true. But last call of the day, we're going to talk to, a pantheist. With their own hypothesis. I don't know about all that, Ace. Ace from New York. How you doing?
How you doing, buddy?
All right. Why would we be the people you want to give a quantum consciousness hypothesis to instead of like quantum physicists? Aaron Adair, I mean, he's a physicist who understands quantum.
I've talked to a physicist before, and about 15 years ago, and they're the ones they said that I might be onto something, and they expanded on it. But let me explain.
Did they say you might be onto something, or they're like, oh, you might be onto something? What was the tone of voice? I'm kidding. Go ahead, Ace.
Well,
I'm a little cynical here at the end of the show. It's been a long one.
All right, I understand. All right, but let me explain a little bit. Okay, evolution. Like, I was an atheist. Not sure if I can call myself an atheist anymore, but not because I believe in any particular God, because I don't. Like, you know what I mean? Like, human beings, everything, every God, every religion that was ever created, I think is nonsense, right?
Okay.
Yeah. But wait. Evolution, right?
Let's finish your sentence though, Ace, because it sounds like you're saying, I think every religious belief, every religion so far, they've all gotten it wrong. But luckily, within the last century, I was born and am the first person who has figured it out, despite not having, I believe it's something rooted in quantum physics, and I believe that as a person with no expertise in physics. Is that about right, Ace?
No, I'm definitely not a physicist, but let me explain to you what my hypothesis is. Okay, let's take evolution, right? Now, evolution is absolutely real. Okay, now the thing is this: over tens of thousands or millions of years, sometimes, much more than that, depending on the size of the animal, the difference between microevolution and macroevolution.
There is no difference. There's no such thing.
Let's take the walking stick, for instance. This particular bug, the walking stick, over millions of years, sat on the tree. Now, a million years ago, the predecessor to the walking stick that we have today was being eaten. You understand? And the walking stick had to evolve, you understand, to look more like its environment in order for the species to survive. Okay? So, including, and I just use that as an example, because human beings...
For the record, that is a very crude explanation of natural explanation, because it isn't necessarily that a thing needs to evolve to survive, as in it was at threat of going extinct, while that perhaps can happen. And hang on, let me finish. I'm just correcting the concept that you've just presented. Evolution will, natural selection will still operate simply on the condition of it will allow that species to survive better. It isn't necessarily necessary to save it from extinction.
No. 98% of every species that ever existed has went extinct. Understand that? Which to me, this proves because they were a particular God that cares about the species. Like, you know what I mean? If there was a
98% have gone extinct, not as a result of the way like we think of extinction, like driving the dodo to extinction, but because they became other species. And what I was pointing out is that your pressures.
I agree with you, but they were when they reproduced, they were semi-random mutations. But see, I don't think it's random. Which no scientist
says it's random
that it's
either.
Random.
Natural selection makes sense. The natural pressures that exist are non-random.
Right, but the problem is, agree, it's not random. And see, that's the thing. If it's not random, what is it in every species that exists on it, including us? Because, what do you mean? Physically, we are weaker than most than creatures that are animals that are our size. Go ahead, buddy.
Where you are assessing the randomness seems to be flawed in the first place. There is random changes in allele frequencies, which that's essentially the driving force of these genetic changes. And so you would have had some changes that were beneficial, and you would have had many, many more that either weren't beneficial or were actually non-beneficial. Those ones died. It's kind of like, it's not tough to think of if you have a stick and it can either turn brown, but instead this one turned blue, and now it's more noticeable on the tree. The reason why it's non-random is because most creatures with eyesight can differentiate blue against a brown background. So it's non-random that they find the blue ones easier.
The walking stick looks exactly like a branch. It looks exactly like a branch.
Now like a branch, yes. Its ancestors did not look exactly like, I'd more call it a twig, but its ancestors didn't. It became more and more looking like a stick. It wasn't a different looking thing, and then one day it woke up looking like a perfect stick over many, many generations and over what would have been partial,
like over minor changes.
The minor changes would have improved it. Looking just slightly more like a stick would have still been an advantage to the things that don't look at all like a stick. And so, or just having a slight color difference.
And those that didn't died off. Agreed. But the fact that it looks perfectly like a stick, you understand?
Well, not perfectly.
Doesn't it seem to you like you know, which also reminds me too, which the astrophysicist that I actually talked to, he said, you know, when I was arguing with other atheists about it, and he gave me, you ever heard of the free will theorem?
Let's finish off on the evolution one before we're jumping to a new one, because what the heck, man. The answer to your question of why does it look perfectly like a stick is because it's evolutionary. It is advantageous to look like a stick. For that species, the most advantageous
thing for
like,
it is to look like a stick. Does not seem like the smallest of particles. Like, it's almost like they're looking at the environment, even though it doesn't work. Like, you know, sometimes it doesn't work, and, you know, like the predecessors die off, like species go extinct. But some does. But doesn't it seem like being on that particular tree or whatever the environment is, seems like it's changing or it's trying, even if it doesn't work, it's trying to survive in the environment, like by trying to mimic the environment, even if sometimes it doesn't work.
Nothing about it is seeing the tree and going, I want to look more like a tree, and then the offspring as a result of that desire, because evolution also happens amongst creatures completely devoid of photoreceptive cells of any type. Obviously, stick bugs have eyes. Evolution happens amongst, there isn't, if it had no eyes, but other creatures did, in fact, its eyes aren't important. It is the fact that other creatures have eyes that want to eat it, because that is what it is adapted to be able to fool their eyes. Its eyes don't matter at all.
Well, that's that's the ecosystem. Like, you know, its predators are adapting to be able to hunt them better, and they are adapting to survive it. Like, do you understand?
I'm just still really confused about what is you said you had a quantum theory for, like, what is how do we get here? Like, what is the theory?
It's kind of what brings me into it's kind of what brings me into the free will theorem, that the smallest of particles have the ability to make the smallest of decisions. It's like, this or that. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Like, and I'm thinking, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, especially with living creatures, that, like, even if it doesn't work much of the time, that on the smallest scale, like, even when it comes to these creatures evolving, like, to mimic their environment perfectly, or to survive their environment, or even us having the intelligence to be able to talk about this right now, like, because it's advantageous. Seems to me that like there's some type of laws of the universe, like there's something like yours when, and I only said Penguins because he was forcing me to, like, make a name for what I believe. Like, you know what I'm saying? It seems to me that, like, you know what I mean? Like the universe is, like, even if it's not perfect, it's not a designer, but, like, it seems to try. Right, and sometimes it works out. Right.
Yeah, you know what? What you're talking about here too. One thing that you're talking about too. Yeah, absolutely. There's that too. But, like, you know, talking about like this the smallest of particles being able to make adjustments for natural selection and to be more competitive and survival and things like that. I mean, size in the universe is a relative thing, right? Like, is the planet Jupiter big or small? Well, it depends on what you're looking at it from. If you're looking at it from, if you were the size of the Milky Way galaxy, then the planet Jupiter is actually relatively quite small. It's so small that it's like microscopic. But if you are the size of you, the planet Jupiter is so big, it's kind of incomprehensibly big. So size is just sort of a relative thing. It doesn't really matter once you actually view it that way, that the universe is kind of just as big inward as it is outward. And what you're sort of getting at here is similar to what Bill was doing on the previous call, which is you're describing something. Too. Yeah, you're describing something kind of like amazing. Like, isn't it, and I brought up double slit theory too, that like, why do these light photons behave differently when they're being observed than when they're not being observed? And it seems to imply some kind of consciousness on the behalf of particles down at the molecular level. Whether there is or is not something
that is the free will theorem. Right, which I think,
absolutely. And so what I'm saying is, and that's a hypothesis. And what I'm saying is this basically comes down to it's similar to, and it might be even indistinguishable from fine tuning theory, which is just sort of like, look how amazing all of these things are. And I'm not disagreeing with you that it's really interesting.
Because, in our solar system, cannot all these other planets can't support life. You know what I'm saying? So there's no there's no fine tuning.
Well, not that we've seen.
Of the, universe.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what Jimmy said. Is most of the time it doesn't.
Maybe in Titan,
it doesn't work out.
In the moon. But yeah, I agree. But
who knows? Maybe
seems you know what I mean. It just seems like it's something ingrained in living creatures. Is trying.
It's almost. He's almost saying God, but he's got like a pantheistic God works in mysterious ways.
But many species are extinct. So it's not whatever it is not perfect. It's far from perfect, and you know what I'm saying. So it's not any conscious being is not.
Ace, how do you know? Wait, Ace. Who said that it's not perfect? First of all, as far as perfect goes, life's only interest is to stay alive. Most things that are extinct are extinct because they evolved. So that would actually suggest it's working correctly. It isn't the goal of life, if you could call it even having a goal, would just be that there continue to be life. So the fact that things are extinct is actually a sign of that working correctly.
To intelligent designers or intelligent designer wouldn't make it would be like Star Wars. You know what I'm saying? Where there's creatures all in every planet. You know what I'm saying? But in this universe,
no, there wasn't even.
You have to have the conditions for life to exist. Agreed, and that and you still.
And we have only found life in our solar system so far, but we also don't even really have the ability to investigate other solar systems. So we actually haven't eliminated life in a single other solar system, except for those that don't have any planets within a Goldilocks zone. So we don't even the things that you are speculating on, we don't even know the answers to. But as far as it's just the God works in mysterious ways shit that people say. You're saying okay, the universe, it seems like, well, let me finish my goddamn point. It seems like something could be trying the things out, and sometimes it gets it wrong. And by the way, the answer is actually most of the time it gets it wrong, but every now and then it gets it right. And it seems like maybe that's from it, making better decisions. And in the same way that I can't tell the difference between a God who is answering prayers in mysterious ways, sometimes yes, sometimes no, in mysterious ways, versus a God that isn't answering any prayers. There's no way to distinguish. I don't know how to distinguish from the apparent presented the allele frequency changes is random, and there is a force in the universe that with the same rate at what you would expect out of randomness is creating new genes and mostly failing with those new genes, but occasionally getting something right. I don't know how you would distinguish the difference between that.
The evidence is also the fact that a walking stick, when you're just walking by, is indistinguishable.
No, that isn't the evidence. That is not the evidence of your hypothesis at all.
That's just something neat.
A gene is selected for if it helps the species survive, and it had a compilation of genes that helped it survive, and on the back of its survival were millions and billions and actually likely trillions of organisms who similarly tried something new and failed to survive and were eaten and were still
I agree with you, buddy. Like, we're not saying, but I'm saying, but
no, sir.
fine.
No, you don't get to just say you agree when what I am describing to you is your whole idea of it seems very much like something is making it happen is because of how successful the specimen of the walking stick is, while ignoring how
I don't care if it's only 1% successful.
So,
I'm
sir,
saying
Ace,
the ones that are
Ace,
successful
I cannot
are
believe that you
absolutely,
actually, Ace, I can't actually believe that you're listening to me when you don't let me finish the fucking point.
I'm sorry, buddy.
And I've heard your whole hypothesis, and it totally disregards, yes, with enough time, and maybe you just don't conceptualize how long, not even just millions, but tens of thousands of years are. With enough time and opportunity to reproduce, you can get some fucking crazy adaptations, and you aren't beating the odds of random allele frequency. You're taking something that has the same odds of that randomness and just giving it a new explanation for funsies. And I'm not a for funsies theist.
No, am I a theist. It's just hard for me, like, to get past that, like, you know, like, which is why I say not in particular, but it seems like there's some type of laws of the universe, like a mechanism, like, you know, that even though it fails, like, you know what I mean? Like, when you look at the end result and it's only getting expanded because they keep on evolving, they look exactly like a stick. Exactly like a stick.
Okay, why do we keep coming back? Okay, no one's arguing.
I've already explained to you why. And I've already explained to you. I've also already explained to you why that doesn't matter, because it does not beat what we already described: the rate at which this would happen with randomness, and the billions to trillions to quadrillions of specimens who didn't survive because because natural selection opted for the bug, because other creatures have eyes for the stick bug than it did the other ones. It's just how natural selection works. And now we have tons of organisms that are, by the way, stick bugs aren't even the best at surviving. Ace, in fact, one of the things you're saying is wrong. They look exactly like a stick. Then how did we ever discover them? Because they are actually distinguishable from sticks, but they can fool a lot of animals.
Right there. Like, obviously, like, you know, like, I was going to do in order to tell the differentiate, you had to see three twigs coming out the side of them, like 6 twigs.
Please stop. Please, I beg you to stop interrupting me. They are distinguishable from twigs, which is why they have predators still. They can fool some animals. They don't fool all, and they don't even fool us. So they aren't perfect at it. They aren't perfect at seeming like, oh, exactly a stick, so they only get picked up when we were accidentally looking for firewood. Right? They are still eaten. They aren't perfect at it, but they have adapted something cool. By the way, I wouldn't have even gone with them. I would have gone with those grasshoppers whose wings look exactly like leaves. Way more impressive than a stick bug.
There's just nothing all that impressive here, unfortunately, Ace. There's just unfortunately, like, it's a lot of, like, it's a lot of words for something that amounts to, isn't this bug neat? Look at this bug, it's neat.
Yeah.
And it's like, it just doesn't, it's like, yeah, there's a lot of neat shit. Like, yeah, things have evolved in interesting ways. I think rhinos are cool. Like, we have all this like historical literature about unicorns. I'm like, look at a rhino, man. That thing's crazy. Big old spiky horn on its head, tough hide. Like, but there's lots of neat things. And
Kangaroos
I don't see how any marsupials are crazy, but I don't understand how any of this matters. I don't understand how any of this is a quantum hypothesis for the existence of intelligent design. I just think that you're looking at neat things.
Well, I don't think it's intelligent. That's what I'm saying. Because of the fact I
You think it's deliberate?
Extremely small scale.
You think it's deliberate, and there isn't much difference between intelligent and deliberate.
Make this decision or that decision. It's almost like if it's not
those
the
particles,
it's almost like
those particles who created the excellent stick bug gave me nipples, and I'm a man. So my final question for you is, what do you think of the logo?
I don't like it. I was thinking about that too when you had the conversation. Like, but only thing why I say I don't like it is because I think it's
just
boring.
So everyone knows who from now on who puts a mean comment, you're on Team Ace. And the swastika.
I'm not trying to be mean. I was just trying to be honest. I was thinking about like I was the other guy was an asshole.
With you.
Like I just think that maybe even if like because I'm LBGT community. How about like a bunch of people, which is happening for probably holding hands or something, and like or different colors or something like that. Just black and white just seems a tad bit boring. And logos too, which I wanted to tell you, I was thinking about that too. Me being like, I went to school for business, like, that a couple
we should have
logos are very important. Like
it should have like 10 people football. On it, 10 rainbows, 10 people, different rainbow colors. You're right.
I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, whatever it is. Better. Like, I just think let's spruce it up a little bit. And also too, with the guy that was talking about the how logos are not important and you don't care. Logos are very important when it comes to business, not football. You made the college football analogy. They're already going to support that team regardless of what the logo is. But you have a startup business, like the name of the business and the logo is extremely important. Like when it comes to marketability.
How did you like the old logo?
Like, but I don't remember the old logo.
Oh, weird. You don't remember the old logo?
But wait. I've been watching
the logo is really important. You consume this channel, and you can't remember the logo for the last several years?
I mean, I don't necessarily consume the channel. I used to watch the Atheist Experience, like for
how's their
almost
logo?
20 years as well. The logo, I think it was a typical atheist logo with the circle and the like. So it's
no. You're
like,
not remembering it right. It's an A. It's literally the letters A, X, and P. What
no, it's A. It actually usually. I have a group. I have a.
What's your other favorite
page
YouTubers?
called the Black Atheists of New York City.
Yeah. What other favorite YouTubers do you like? Non-atheists. What's your favorite YouTuber?
Matt Dillon is probably my YouTubers. Period.
Non-atheist YouTubers. What's your favorite channel?
Non-atheist. Damn, on the spot. Let me try to think. I like David Pakman. Like one that I popped up.
What's his logo?
I subscribe. Buddy, I don't remember because I don't pay attention like that. Like you're right, like it's not important.
You're right. But anyway, you were saying how
I was just answering because they were talking about the logo you showed you.
No, I know. Anyway, so that's 3 of them you didn't remember. Anyway, go if you could finish your thought about how important atheist YouTuber logos are.
Yeah, I don't. All right, you win.
Do you see what I did there? I love you, buddy. Thanks, Ace.
All right, yeah, like you win. I don't care that much. Like,
no one does.
Okay,
literally, no one does. This is my point.
Feel like what you did there.
That anybody gives a fuck if this sucks or not. And by the way, I like it because it is going to be very useful for future things that we're going to be doing with not just merch but also graphics. There are reasons I like it because I'm thinking about the future. But that people give a fuck about something that if they didn't have a picture of the old logo, they wouldn't be able to describe it to you.
No, I'm going to call the show. I don't give a shit what it is. Like I'm going to watch the show because I'm interested in what y'all have to say. Right, so I agree with you.
Yeah.
You know, it's like your favorite football team.
Thanks, Ace.
But I'm just saying a startup business. Right? You know what I mean? Like, but
no, I got you.
I got you.
See you, man.
Thanks, Ace. Take it easy.
I'm going to do that with every single person. Like have them on the phone live in person, make sure that they're not looking at something. Just literally like, I'm hearing your criticisms. Now describe the logos of your 5 favorite channels.
Yeah.
I think Mr. Beast is like a picture of him. I don't fucking no one cares about this. No one cares about this. I do want you to buy it though. Go to linemerch.com.
I can't tell you.
Go ahead.
I can't tell you what the profile picture or the logo of any of my favorite channels is. But again, we've already established that I'm just not a person who I just don't. When people freak out about stuff like this, I'm always just like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. Like the only thing that I am on board with is usually like AI stuff when people are using like AI slop in there, and I'm always like, oh yeah, sure. Like that's when people think it's real. When I'm like, yeah, that guy's got 9 fingers on one hand. Like you should be able to tell that that's not real, but yeah.
I actually can't think of Pac-Man's logo either, and we're about to feature Pac-Man on the channel. Hey, by the way, actually also over at linemerch.com, the founders merch for The Line as a Podcast is only available through the end of the month. So it will not be available if you want to be in the first crew. This is actually my favorite. I also made this logo, by the way. Very widely well received. So it's funny. I'm a terrible graphic artist.
Yeah.
I love this one actually. I find it. I'm gonna clean it up, but it basically the founders merch is the rough sketch version of the first logo.
Awesome.
It's fun. Yeah. Anyway.
Cool.
Now that we're at the end, you want to give your honest opinion? I'm just kidding. Austin, tell people where they can find you and Steph. I should have asked you to do that at the beginning. I am sorry.
Oh no, I mean you put it in the description or whatever. I've got a YouTube channel. I'm Austin Archer. You can go follow me over there if you want to hear me talk about whatever. And I've got a podcast called The Oner that is ONER where I talk about movies with a friend. The Oner Podcast. And then I've you can find me your pal _Austin or just by searching Austin Archer on TikTok or Instagram. And I'm yapping over there on Threads, on Blue Sky, I'm yapping. Go find me.
How do you spell the Oner Podcast? I'm adding that to
the Oner THEONER Podcast. The Oner Podcast. We're a newer show, and we're talking about movies. If you want to hear us talk about movies.
Do you know what's horrible about having a podcast called The Line Has a Podcast is when you try to tell Alexa to play it, it doesn't understand the word podcast as part of the title. So it goes, I cannot find a podcast called The Line Has a.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Gotta get that fixed.
Yeah.
Gotta get that fixed.
Maybe you say it twice. The Line Has a Podcast.
The Line Has a Podcast. I'll try that out.
Yeah.
I don't feel like, I think I did. I don't think that'll work. I caught a glimpse. Does this look like I'm on a green screen? Or do you think what do you think behind me?
I thought it was real behind you, but then when it went away for a second, I was like, oh, because I'm not seeing any like outline. If you are on a green screen, it's doing a really nice job.
No, it's a display. It's a display.
It's a display.
It's just like it's here. Morgan, put me full screen for a second. That way people can see the logo even bigger behind me. Because everybody loves this logo. Looks like butterfly wings on me right now. Yeah, this is and
it's like a TV screen behind you?
Yeah, it's like a Samsung. It's their 85 inch, or let's see. I'll put a
Oh wow.
Let's transport ourselves to somewhere else. Let's go. Okay, let's mute before it starts playing something crazy. Ambient, we'll go, and we're doing this show from some cliffs. Might take a second to load. You can put me back to split screen there. Well, that's not correct. Maybe that's the downloading icon. You can bring Austin back. It'll still work. I think it's downloading.
I mean, it looks great for being a display. Yeah, it looks great.
Displays also work as the best green screens. If you ever needed a green screen, a solid green, because it's pure solid.
This is a green screen of what my office looks like, but this is a green screen of it. So I like the wall behind me is this, but that's the wall behind the screen. I just like to have it as a screen. So
wait,
if that makes sense. Like there's
behind you is
there's a green screen behind me, but then behind the green screen is exactly that. Exactly what you're looking at.
And so you have a camera that's live feeding behind the screen. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. I love that. Do you know what's so funny is Matt has a green screen background of just like sound tiles, like soundproofing tiles, which I'm like, of the choices for a green screen, I get it. Like, it's like, yeah, but that's just what a background you expect to look like is. I'm like, yeah, but you do halo green from time to time. So people are going to figure out that it's not. So why go. I don't know. I think it's a funny choice.
Yeah, why choose to make your green screen background look like a recording studio when it's like it's just like you could just be anywhere. Yeah,
be in the cliffs.
Yeah, do that.
I just tell people I am here. I'm just separately lit, like CNN. How it looks weird, like they look like they're not really there when they because they light themselves separate from the background. Anyway, that's just everything's great. Thank you everybody for this wonderful show. Thank you for all of the very, very positive things said about the logo. We will be taking orders immediately on who wants me to design their next logo. Just kidding. I'm not doing that. I
think I want you to design my new logo for my channel.
Okay.
So I was kind of thinking of like a circle with like faces that are something like that. Yeah.
And then that just send you the same thing. But I made the line an arrow to represent archery. So it's the Austin Archer. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And both the faces are me.
Put a little mustache on these guys.
It's those faces and both of them have mustaches, and then there's an arrow and there's like you turn. Yeah. I like that.
I just moved this line down to the mouth, the exact same line, but just down to the mouth. My turtle. Yeah. My turtle mouth. Yeah. It's gonna be good. It'll be good. Cool. Someone said best logo ever in the live chat, and I don't know if they're making fun of me.
Yeah.
That's the reality. Oh my God. That's a live. This is a video.
Oh, look at that. Yeah.
It's wet.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's dope.
That's the show. Sorry. Play the outro. There we go. Here's people over at our patreon.com/call the line. If you are in our top tier, you get on the credits here. It's a patron producer. A couple random shout outs. Thank you, Vela. You're awesome. Bethany's cool. Jenny's awesome. Jeff, and I think we need to update this. I'm realizing we'll get this list updated here soon as well. Okay, sorry.